Welcome to the Bracelets Guild podcast, where we go through trails chapter by chapter. I'm Brandon, and joining me, as always, is Alex. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
It's you.
It's me. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello. I was about to say it's
Hello.
chapter 2, but no. I mean,
No.
it's very similar to chapter 2. We're in the same
It's
location.
like chapter 2 asterisks.
It's like chapter 2, part 2, in a sense.
Oh God, is it? Oh, yeah. Ah.
It's got
I
like
don't
a similar
that.
vibe. It's like a similar vibe, even
Yeah.
though like we're in the same place. So obviously, it's going to give a similar vibe because
Yeah,
we're in
that's fair enough.
Ruan. My God, Ruan.
Ruan? Is that it? Ruan? Ruan? You have to sound like you're choking yourself. It's French.
Yeah,
Ruan.
I don't know. We're in French. We're in French land.
We're in the land of the mushrooms and snails and pigs and such. Other associated French entities.
Oh.
Whoa there, that's my culture you're insulting, sir. Yeah, we're here.
Good.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir.
Yeah, I was gonna say chapter 2, but no, it's chapter 1.
Yeah. Sneaking
Because-
shadows.
Sneaking Shadows, even though it's episode 2, so I always
Yeah.
we're doing like the programming counting, but like ahead.
Welcome to episode 2 of chapter 2, chapter 1.
Are you confused yet?
And this is the game series we decided to hook this up to.
And it's its fault for having a prologue.
Yeah, the bastards. They should have thought about how we felt 20, 30, 40 years in the future of when the game was released.
Yeah. So
Either way,
let's
do you
get
want to
start
start us off? Yeah.
Let's
You know
get
what's up.
started.
Get the storybook out, Pops. They're here for content. Trails content.
So after getting a booked flight back from La Launch,
Le locle.
Okay.
Locle.
Estelle and Annalise arrive back at Grand Seal to report in on their training. During that time, Elaine says that like strong monsters have been popping around the area, so more challenge for second game, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess it's the
like,
society's. I guess it's the secret society's problem to blame for this stuff.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's great too because it's like orbiments. We're gonna reset them because there's some very strong logic. We've got like new technology and like they aren't compatible and yada yada yada. And it's like monsters have become stronger, and you're like, why? And they're like, because they've society.
I'm very strong in my belief that it's probably because of the activation of the towers, but like that was also like, or like the supposed like activation of the towers.
I mean, that's what the Liberal News Volume 2 talks about, is they say that it's potentially due to increase... I don't know if they say specifically what, but it's
Like
like
septium?
orbital actuation or whatever through the septium veins since the activation.
Yeah, because
they're
like,
basically
Kevin was
giant
talking
conduits.
earlier in the thing. It was like, okay, we're going to follow like the septium vein trails for like the ring or whatnot, and then like I know in like this chapter we see like activated towers, if I remember correctly, like the centers of them are like on, or I can't remember if they're on and off.
If you're talking about Sephiral Tower, yes, the
Okay.
top was on and the fountains were activated, which previously the fountains were just lakes, like little water pools.
Yeah, so I'm very inclined of like those are probably what's up, and then so it's attracting it's probably attracting more higher level monsters to the area since now like the ground is like more like septian vein, so like they're more like inclined to come to these areas.
Could also just be the towers themselves, because they're supposed to be like radio towers, right?
Yeah.
So it could be like the propagation of orbital energy to determine where the ring is could also potentially be drawing them. because it's literally it in
I
my
mean,
head.
that's
It's the equivalent
essentially
of a
what I'm saying.
giant orbital crystal. Yeah, I think like mixed with the theory of like it pulsating through the ground. Basically, Liberl right now is a giant conduit of orbital energy.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, the sky, the ground, like everything is just orbital. That can't be good for the citizenry. Like, they're gonna come out in this like
I guess that's
60
like-
years down the line, and they'll be like, everybody's infected with a little bit of orbital radiation.
The one downside for, I guess, oral technology, I guess
Is
that's like
orbital
the
cancer.
for progress, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. God, those poor sky people. Like, they're gonna be in the ships. Like, there's gonna be history books about like the working conditions of the guys who had to like feed the orbital engines or whatever.
Like fucking like train conductors or like shovel boys.
Yeah. They had like their shirts off, they're like glistening sweat, and it's like, and at the end of their shift, they'd go and get a checkup because there was a 20% chance that they got horrific, awful orbital cancer. And you just lived with it for 10 schmeckles a day. Like,
Sorry, it's 10 Mira a day,
right, 10 Mira. Oh god, you're right. Ah,
which is a wage slave. Am I right, fellow
Yeah.
liberalians?
I mean, you do one like guild quest where you like sneeze on an enemy, you get at least 1,000 Mira, but you like conduct
you're
an entire
special.
goddamn skyship. That's true. I am special. My mom always told me that. That's how I know.
Who else is special is the Society of Ouroboros.
Oh, are they ever?
They're very special. Agate and Shara come in and are given a mission to investigate the Society of Ouroboros, and we get to choose which one we get to go investigate this in Rouen. Except
Quick, put a poll
Annalise.
down
Except
in the
Annalise, which
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah, because I totally would have chosen Annalise. Quick,
Yeah,
right now,
same.
put in the comments what you think is which we chose, because you're almost exactly guaranteed correct. There's not even a question of who chose who. And yes, we did not choose the same people. Pure coincidence. We didn't even plan that, did we?
I kind of did. Kind of.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
because
didn't.
I knew
was
you
just
picked
like,
Shara.
Yeah, it's just like yoink.
But the reason I chose Agate was he just kind of like got sidelined last game, where you only like have him for bits of chapter 2, and then I never used him in the final dungeon. So like I never used him, unlike Shara, where she had a whole chapter
Yeah,
where she was
and
doing
like a little
stuff.
bit of another one because she was also showed up in the final fight, and you were forced to have her along too.
Yeah, Agate was pretty chill this chapter. It's just kind of like a more like chiller, mature Agate, still with like kind of like a brash side for most of it. It's like not anything too special, but like it was nice. Because
Yeah,
he's
sure.
a lot,
Was
he's a lot more like friendlier around Estelle, like more like confident in her abilities.
well,
And
I
it's
guess
very
when you
like
stop a coup.
yeah, and it's very much more like willing to like let people come along, like Chloe.
Yeah,
Because
well, I
like,
mean, he's also
previously
worked
he
with
was
Chloe.
like very against it. So it's like I feel like Agate was like a really good choice for this arc because it feels like he was getting like more development in a sense. I don't know how it could. I don't know how much I would say about Shara because like I didn't see that
Shara was
side.
horny on main. Shara forgot to switch accounts. Don't worry, every time Shara said something unbelievably sexual for no goddamn reason, I wrote it down. Condescendingly, I wrote it down. She was good. Literally, like, I felt like this entire chapter was built for her in a way. She has
Same
amazing
with
comments
Agate
on
in
everything.
a sense. Except the
Like-
Olivier bit, which
Olivier and Shara are just so much better.
Agate
literally,
and
like, built for
Olivier
each
have
other.
like some like they have like a fun interaction or two. Basically, it's like, who are you? Which we'll get into like one specific example later, which is
Yeah.
funny.
I love that whole "Who are you?" Because you can
Because
take it as one of
because
two
it's
ways.
like,
It's
oh
like,
yeah,
who are you? And also, who are you?
it's like we defeated a coup together, but we never interacted once.
Yeah.
So that's a funny dynamic.
It's like when you've got like a really big Discord group and like you're there for like 3 people. That was Agate the entire last game. He was there because Estelle was there and he had like his own things he had to do, and Olivier was like a closer part, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. To be fair, he was out in commission, like wandering around with his new little sister, so who is effectively like Tita has been adopted, I think, 12 times in just the last game alone. Like,
Yeah,
she's cute, so it's fine.
she's everybody's sister.
Yeah,
She's the group sister.
the shared sister.
You get to take Tita out on the weekends. I have her the weekdays.
I could see them doing that. I mean, Estelle literally wanted to like steal her and put a
Turn her
collar
to a
on her,
pet.
didn't she? Yeah.
Like pet, weird teenage brain. I don't know.
Yeah. If Estelle has a brain, but yeah.
If you have anything else to say in like this guild thing, I'm just gonna move on to the error.
The guild thing, let me see. This is after choosing with Shara, right? So the only thing that I have next is, oh yeah, so when you're about to leave, this is where we are, right? Like we're basically at the
We're
airship,
almost
it's
about,
landed.
yeah, we're gonna say goodbye to
All right.
people.
Before they go, I wanted to mention that Agate like has a moment during this whole period where he basically tells Estelle how a woman should behave from the perspective of a man, because he's
Yeah.
like, look, men are really bad at like falling back and like accepting other people's opinions and emotions and stuff, and women are good at that. So you got to do this and that and that and this to be a woman. Estelle's like, what?
I didn't get that bit, but I got it like I got one bit after the orphanage where Agate says women are strong.
Oh no, moms are tough all
Moms
over
are
again.
tough. Yeah, no, I was gonna say moms are tough.
Oh no, I could set the flag down and kill Estelle or Teresa. It could be either way.
For those who don't know, we have a running bit where
Was it Final Fantasy 12?
Final Fantasy 13, there's a scene
That's
where
it.
a mom of one of the main characters shoots a guy, I guess.
She's about to go with like one of the rebel leaders because she's gonna defend her kid or whatever from this
she's about to
entire
go with,
army
like,
that's
Snow.
invading. And she's like, she looks at the camera, basically does a wink and says, "Moms are tough." And then not even like 5 minutes later, you can like smash cut to her falling off of a bridge, just
Yeah.
fucking dying.
Moms are tough.
Moms are tough, dude. Just not that tough. That's a little too far. It's awesome.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to mention.
Yeah, Agate just says stuff out of pocket. Like, I mean, like, I enjoy it because it's him, like, internalizing his, like, I guess, like, masculinity in a sense. Like, a lot of, like Cassius also did it.
Yes,
but with,
Cassius
like,
did it for sure.
But with, like, you know, less but with more guidance than Agate.
Yeah. Cassius is just generally a little bit wiser than Agate, I feel. But I did want to also mention Annalise does confess to Estelle
Oh, yeah.
a deep and horrid,
yeah.
dark secret. They like look into each other's eyes, and you can see the rose petals flutter around. And Annalise looks directly into Estelle and says, "Do you want to be my rival?" Takes everybody by surprise. That bit was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, the game does a whole bit of, like, Annalise confessing her love to Estelle, but in reality, it's just, hey, you want to be my rival after, like, being training partners?
Yeah.
Like,
so they're in a race to get to A. So whoever's A 1st, I guess. Which is funny to me because I'm pretty sure you can end the game without A rank.
I think that's probably like one thing because like at this point we're like G or G plus and she's F. So like we're like slightly below her.
Well, I'm F right now, but yeah.
I'm also F right now, but you know,
Yeah.
at this point in the game.
Yeah. I have 52 bracer points, I think. Okay, we're not dick measuring. Gotcha.
I don't know what my I have not paid attention to bracer points at all. I don't care.
I'm convinced that if I mess up any of these, I'm not going to get S rank, and I really want to.
Cool. Our collective pairs both leave. One on the airship with Annalise, and another with our respective chosen partners. I guess one last thing. I'm sad that we don't. We'll probably not get Annalise again in the party, even though she had like fun stuff and it's like, ooh, new character. Nope. Here's your old
She really
characters.
vibed with Estelle.
Yeah. I would
So
like to
it's
get
really
more
upsetting.
for besides just things are cute.
Yeah, I mean, I was already like leaning into like, okay, I like this character because it's like we don't have a character that's basically an adult woman who is effectively just still mentally a child. I was like, that's a neat like thing to play around with. But unfortunately, we don't even get to see her. Now, if it's anything like last game, we'll see her at some point later, probably.
Probably
Either
at,
at like
like,
the end chapter,
Probably at the end.
which is good because I want to see her like sidekick the true
Or
way or
or
whatever.
whenever we're going back to Relent, potentially. Which will probably be the last maybe the last area we investigate.
I don't know. If we're going through like every single thing again, in theory, we're not going back to wherever we first were, right? Because there's 10 chapters. God knows where we're going.
Yeah. We'll know we're going next chapter, so that's
Yeah. Zeiss, baby.
okay. Now our other two have to go get tickets. And going into like the ticket booth area, we see two new characters arguing about an engine provision deal. One woman's from Calvard Assembly named Crochan, and the other one is from
Cochrane?
Cochrane.
Cochrane? Cochrane? Look,
Cochrane?
Lord Deville Cranagh is not exactly easy either. I'm going to say LDC and EC. I think that's fair. Or just Elsa and David.
Crochan, and one is from the Urbonian. I keep there's no M. Urbonian embassy named Karnan, accompanied by our good friend Vander.
I'd like to point out as well, at this point, they start referring to it as the Empire for Urbonian Empire, the Republic for the Calvard Republic, and the Kingdom for the Liberal Kingdom. So from now on, we have canonical names that are a lot easier to say.
Well, no, they've always been the Empire, the Republic, and the Kingdom. We just never.
Yeah, but now it's been like in one like area. I am purely satisfied in just calling it the Kingdom from now on, personally, because having to remember how the hell to say Urbonia for the 30th time.
I'll still keep saying Urbonia.
Sure.
Yeah, they're doing the whole arguing thing. They basically essentially throw racially charged insults back and forth at each other.
Over an engine.
Well, I mean, it's over
the most advanced orbital military engine.
Basically, this
that's
deal
being
is
given to them because the queen is a moron.
Well, no. So the deal is essentially Liberal sharing their engine tech with other nations as part of a peace/no non-aggression treaty for airships and whatnot to kind of like build those relationships further and not like monopolize like one technology, which is
dumb.
I don't think it's like necessarily dumb, because that can like lead to like better like trading relationships, because like we didn't really know the state between Ambrodian and like Calvard. with liberal because like right now like they seem chill and like this could be like a way for like money flow. I don't think it's like giving it away for free.
I mean, they
No.
explicitly say it's free.
Do they say it's free?
Yeah. Mueller gets talked to with Estelle, and he's like, "Yeah, they're giving it to us just directly because
Hmm.
it's a sign of peace or whatever." He's hoping, or she's hoping that this is a good enough sign that we can improve relations or something like that. Something like that.
Yeah.
And Estelle is just like, "Oh, that sounds so great and smart, and that's amazing." So the game is telling you, "Hey, this is a good idea," but I disagree.
I'm on the
Because
fence.
literally the moment before that, they're also like, Liberal has always been known for having more advanced technology than everybody else do. The fact that it sits on a giant orbital, like basically post refinery, with the ancient civilizations all underneath. Liberal and like this hot pocket of orbital tech,
But
and now they're
I'm
just
gonna
giving it
be
away.
real. Like I feel like maybe like a dis wave because like I feel like this technology would have got copied anyways.
Eventually, but
It would have got copied anyways. So like instead of like the like whole process of like trying to like reverse engineer the solution, having this is like a sign of like having resources like having like Urbonians like resources like uh go to something else then try to like replicate like this new like technology.
mhm.
So I think like the queen is like I guess in like that sense.
Yeah, and I mean, on top of their racial slurs, they also mention that was it the Calvard Republic views liberal in a surprisingly negative light. And the thing that keeps on
I well
striking me
I
is
don't know if it's Calvard or just the woman.
it may just be the woman.
I
That's
think it's
true.
just
Yeah.
because like Zin and like other people are pretty chill with liberal from like every other Calvarian person we've met so far has been pretty like chill with liberal.
But that's been true for the Urbonian embassy too. There's not really been a single character from Urbonia that's like, we should have conquered you when we had the chance. Like Olivier, it, he's. We'll talk about him at a different time because he's complex. But Mueller, for example, doesn't really seem to care. Every single person we've met like on the border is just kind of like, oh yeah, we just had a war, didn't we? Anyway, and they just move on directly, right? The
Well,
only other
because
time we've
like
ever seen
it seems like
Urbonians
it.
is like
Well, it's because
when
it's like a high up decision. You know, it's like Russia.
yeah, but even when you see like nobles and whatever come down, they're like, oh, this is a quaint place, and then that's it. There's no like,
Well,
there's like no
there's a
resentment from
difference
the
between
citizen.
nobility and government in like Embrotian. I'm pretty sure because like it's a whole like
It's an
empire.
empire, right? So I guess it would be very governmentally organized rather than aristocratically.
Yeah, because
Because
nobility is a big thing in
aristocracy,
like in liberal, and I don't know. And if it's a republic in Calvar, pretty much democracy. I think that's where
no, a republic is like a plutocracy. It's basically like
it's a bunch
the
of
most
smaller things.
wealthy.
Yeah,
It's the most wealthy people have a tendency to get to the top, and they
yeah, yeah,
form
yeah.
like
That's the one.
mixed groups. They don't really vote for parties; they vote for people, and then people are typically focused on like. It's basically instead of like a one-party system, it's like 1,000 party system, but for people instead of
Yeah,
parties. Yeah, it's based on money, typically.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Like fucking Crotrain doesn't like the idea of Ambrodian getting this tech due to them trying to annex this place, but then he and that she like they have been much better friends to them, so like they want to essentially cut out or she wants to essentially cut Ambrodian from the deal, and then he responds like they weren't that great friends in the war as they kind of stood on the sidelines and didn't really send any
They didn't send
troops.
any troops whatsoever. Which, to be fair, 100 days is 3 months, right? Like
Yeah, and
mobilization is not
I
exactly
can
speedy.
like I could also understand because like I don't know like the state of the Calvard Republic because if it is like a republic, you have to like kind of like gather the people around like
well,
one thing. It's not like one like it's not like a true like organization where it's like, oh, we have like this one like ruler, let's go for it.
Well, actually, interesting that you bring that up. So, like a modern parallel to the idea of a republic is the United States. The United States is technically a republic in the way that it's organized, in the way that its government works, and it has a standing army. Historically, actually, the groups that used to have something equivalent to a standing army were always the republics and the things equivalently closer to a democracy, just because they had the majority of their entire state organized around money. So because they had their state organized around money, that meant that they could hire mercenaries more frequently. And it got to the point where they basically would have mercenaries on standby. And when you have mercenaries on standby, that's not that far off from just having like an industrial military complex. Meanwhile, feudal lords would just hope that the aristocracy had knights, and they would just gather all the knights from the aristocracy. So feudal societies often had way less military might until a war started going into full swing. Because unlike a plutocracy where it's really hard to get new people to join the military, a feudal empire would just be able to recruit any arbitrary peasant. That's why it was very common for farmers to become warriors or whatever, because they're just big burly dudes who've been in like the fields all goddamn day, right? Give them a suit of armor and send them out. But they're not there from the get-go, so it's slow to like get them up to date.
Okay.
And empires are entirely different. Empires are built around military. Like their entire structure is organized around military. So there will be a certain
That's
subset
why a
of their
lot of
population
empires
entirely.
are considered evil in fiction. 'Cause,
Yeah,
like,
but that has more to do with Nazism, because
Yeah.
Nazism is like the classical notion
the
of evil
classic,
in
yeah,
modern
yeah.
society. Yeah. So, because we live in like a post-Nazism society or whatever. I don't know too much about modern culture in respect to governance, but yeah. So in theory, the Republic, digesting all that, in theory, the Republic should have the biggest military, or at least the most professional military out of Liberland themselves, and it would be the Urbonian embassy or the Urbonian Empire rather, that has the strongest and largest army by far, like a ridiculous amount.
it's more yeah. It's definitely like, do we want to also poke the bear? It's like, okay, if we like sit on the sidelines, we could still like get like a decent deal out of it because like we're like a bigger nation than liberal.
Yeah. Especially because, like, there's even modern parallels with, I don't know how political this is allowed to be, but Ukraine.
Like, no, like I literally mentioned Russia.
Oh, did you? Okay, cool.
As a,
'Cause,
like emperor, yeah.
Ukraine and Russia, when they're fighting, the states could have gotten involved militarily, but they didn't. They're just sending money. They're sending troops and they're sending guns. And we don't know if the
this
Kalmar
parallel's
Republic
looking almost too scarily good.
Yeah, well, war never changes.
Anyways, let's move on.
It really is, isn't it? Anyway, yeah.
They both end up leaving mad. Leaving. I like my notes auto-corrected Vander's name to Venter. Let's go to the Venter. And he basically explains the whole sitch. What
Yeah,
we
basically
kinda just went
those
through.
two suck with respect to each other.
Yeah, because like they're always constantly fighting. They're like oil and water. Like once they're like 10 feet within each other, it's like yap. So it's like not like maybe like the best indication of like the relations. It could just be like two people like not meshing well like personally. But they also are like leaders of embassies of of liberal. So
Yeah, they're both the leader of the embassy respective to their country within Liberal.
which is like not the best thing for having two representatives not mesh.
I feel like it must be common, though.
Probably. I don't know much about embassies. Probably most embassies are probably pretty chill nowadays.
Maybe. I feel like it would be a lot like a frat house of like a bunch of diplomats who are getting pampered up, and then they like constantly bicker, and like rumors would probably fucking everywhere. Because it's not just like one in the modern day. You have like a whole house of diplomats of a specific country, right? Ugh, the more I think about it, the more I'm really grossed out by the idea of diplomats. There is a share a moment here, by the way.
Oh.
Firstly, though, I want to mention Mueller, in case you're curious about what he is in all of this. It was kind of briefly mentioned before, but now it's more concrete. He is the military. Was it specifically? He is the military officer for the Obonian embassy. So he's also part of specifically the embassy, which is curious with respect to his relationship with Olivier. But the Shara moment is that the very first thing she says about him is that he's hot and that she wouldn't mind getting down with him.
I mean, who wouldn't?
In my notes, I said, Shara instantly wants to fuck him, of course. I would never say change, but please? For me?
No. She gets to live her life however she wants.
Somebody needs to bonk her with the horny bat.
Someone needs to do that with Olivier 100 times more.
Honestly, I'm not sure you could he'd be the kind of person you like bonk and he blushes. Like, I don't know if you can stop him.
Oh, he's a masochist. Oh no.
I mean, one of his favorite people is Shara, who attempts to alcoholically poison him every single time they're near. So, maybe. Yeah, that's the end of the Shara moment, so you can continue.
Yeah. Yeah, the more details is and Berlian was about to finalize the details of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if with her or like with the guard or like because this is like a ticket place.
This is a ticket office. So like, is it like going to your local post office kind of a
Is
deal?
it like your local like government, not like government building, but like I don't know what
is this just a
called.
Canada Post? Did they just like drop off a package and they had to go pick it up from like Amazon, but liberal style? Like, just gotta pick up my engine from the local liberal post.
I mean, they're giving away for free, so gotta pay some shipping.
For free. That's true.
Nothing's truly free in this world, Alex.
They don't have low clay plus.
Low clay plus.
Yeah.
Oh man, my fucking low K prime. Can't wait for it. Watch so many horrible movies on it.
I mean, they have Epstein. How hard would it be to believe that there's a character called Bezos in this? Come on.
I feel like Bezos is a fairly new name. Epstein has been around for a bit.
I really hope that there's at least one plot point about, because you can make a whole thing. It's like Bezos in Liberal Kingdom uses the skyships. He was the first one to do the logistics for the blah blah blah. It exists.
Well, that is just Russell, but
Yeah, but he doesn't do the logistics. He's just obsessed with anything that goes blink in the night.
Also, Olivier is still in the country. Woohoo! We finally get our tickets out of and leave Grand Seal.
Yeah.
Woohoo! We're now in the air, and we get information.
I said the exact same thing in my notes.
What?
You're like, woohoo, we're in the air. And I'm like, yeah, next we're in the sky. Very cool.
I said that off the cuff. I didn't have a note.
Oh, okay.
That was just me trying to transition.
And I interrupted it. As your co-host, I think I'm probably doing good. They're doing the job, right? That's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to halt progress of the podcast. Sorry, continue.
We have to go on so many side tangents. Yeah.
Yeah.
We get information from our partner that there's going to be a new mayor election going down in Iran since, last one, took a little dip in the ocean, let's say.
He totally gained back his memories. Totally.
Totally. It wasn't an excuse. Totally.
Yeah.
Which is honestly crazy that we don't know, the actual, we don't know what act for all we know he could have been framed by Wiseman.
And the greatest part is too, if he was framed, he's just in jail now for something he never would have done.
Yeah, I don't think
So
the game's
yeah,
gonna ever touch this on again. So it's gonna be very funny that it's like the game has told us that he was in the wrong, so he's indeed in
yeah,
the wrong until otherwise proven. Because past
yeah,
this game, I doubt this plot point will ever come up again.
yeah. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
A little route divergence. Agate becomes more thoughtful. It's like, maybe we can stop by and say hi to some old friends in town. It's like, who are you and what did you do with Agate? Essentially. So whole thing. And then during this section, you can go talk around with some peeps, and a lot of the crew here is a lot of the crew from the Sky Pirate incident. It's like yeah, it's the same crew. I think it's the same airliner that
It's the
got
exact
stolen.
screw. Sorry, not screw. Crew.
Yeah,
The guy in the bowels of the ship, he was part of it. The captain you can talk to, and he just
one of
straight
the
up thanks you
maids.
for it. Yep. There's a girl in like the rec room, I guess, that just straight up you're required to be thanked by her for the plot to continue. Both the people in the cockpit, basically the whole staff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is nice.
And by the way, I also want to mention something else about the ship. Every single character you talk on here is in the next city, and about
Yeah,
half of them have a side quest associated to them. And I have a
I
list of
only
them
I only
here.
know one that has a side quest.
I have every single character that was important in my notes. For example, there's a man. He's really important. You've probably heard of him before. He's attempting to hunt God, Brandon.
Oh, was Lloyd on the ship? I didn't know if
You
Lloyd.
instantly know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, because he comes up later and gives you a tutorial on fishing. I didn't think. I thought that was a different dude. I didn't think it was also Lloyd. I
No, that
thought
was also Lloyd. Yeah,
because I talked to Lloyd and then he gave me a fishing rod on the
yeah,
ship.
yeah. Of course he did, and a book. Yeah, that's Lloyd.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that's one of them. He's come to fish God. Actually, he hasn't, but
Yeah, I think maybe he's fish god already. You know.
no. He mumbles to himself about fishing God, but he hasn't quite gotten to the level of that yet. He's just come because he heard of it from another group. There's also they also mention ships outside of Liberl are rare still, which I found interesting.
Well, I mean that's the whole like orbital engine debacle.
Yeah, but I find it neat that not a single person still reverse engineered this technology yet. Because I'd imagine to travel to one of the other kingdoms, you'd probably use a skyship. No, surely at some point some mechanic would have had to know something, unless it's purely an
Well, I
internal
mean like
thing within the
like
country.
patents and like the legality with like patents and like then like trying to piss off like other like foreign nations, but like that's common. I don't know how
Maybe if they
common
even
in this
have
world.
patents. Yeah, if
I
they
think
even
they have
have
patents.
patents.
I think doesn't Russell have patents? Remember vaguely, maybe. I don't know.
It sounds like if anybody were to have them, it'd be him. But yeah. Also, Orvid's here. Orvid is the shopkeeper from the last game who requires you get a mushroom that sparkles and a couple other things. And he also abandons his daughter to go out into the woods to fight a bunch of monsters, almost dies, and you have to pick him up and save him. And then he just cusses you out the entire way back. He's more chill
The
this game.
fuck?
Yeah. There's also a guy named, I think Simon's here, which if you don't remember Simon, Brandon killed him, but he came back from the dead. I saved him from crocodiles
Oh yeah,
or whatever they're
that
called.
dude.
Yeah. Sister Rosa, who apparently the thing I find interesting. Okay, so Sister Rosa is just a priest who's just there, which is weird in its own right. We already know wandering priests are a thing, and we already know that they're female wandering priests. But what's more interesting is that I have it here. Yeah, a guy named Santos exists. Now, Santos is a researcher of the tetracyclic towers, which is the official name. Sorry, the official name for the 4 towers that we've been talking about basically the whole game. The ones that are the radio, whatever the hell, that are activated and so on. He's come to research that. And he's come to research that by the Vatican. They're the ones who requested him. And Sister Rosa isn't ever directly associated with him, but is in the same area. Now, whether that means she is part of this or not, I'm not certain. But I do know in the next game there's been art of a female priest. And so I'm curious if this is our very first sighting of that priest.
Neat. Maybe.
Yeah.
Because
I don't know
like
if it
previous
is.
game, there was like people who didn't have portraits now do have portraits.
Yeah. Like all the orphans.
Yeah.
Which I guess we'll get to. But yeah, so that's all the people who are here that are interesting. But yeah, no, I thought it was neat that you just see everybody here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty fun. I enjoy that where it's like here's just kind of like a bunch of people you get to see for like this chapter.
Yeah. Especially when you like look back on it and you're like, wait a second.
But eventually we get off the ship and we arrive at the Gill where Jean asks us to investigate a ghost sighting of a white shadow that people have seen around. And we got to figure out what's going on.
And Estelle very bravely takes this up.
To help alleviate the stress of the political campaign. Also, during this whole stuff of Stella is, of course, scared of ghosts. Like, shock, horror.
Who could guess?
Who could guess the naive character would be scared of ghosts?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're told that there's 3 people we got to talk to, a guard at a gate, one of the ravens, and another kid from the orphanage. Even though it goes in like that order, we go to like the ravens first, even though you'd think you go to like the guard because it's like listed first, even on like it kind of like side quest thing, but you investigate it the last.
Also, on top of all this, I want to point out that we also get more information on the 2 mayor people who get to be involved with the election. But they basically just do the same thing across the entire chapter as they remind you over and over and over these 2 facts. Norman is the touristy guy. Portos is the harbor guy. And there's
tourism
no
versus,
other information given the entire chapter.
Yeah, it's basically tourism versus industry, and then it's literally that. And then like the ghost is kind of like messing with the vibe of the election.
And that's literally all it's doing
That's-
too.
that's-
Is it's just
that's
freaking
it.
people out, and this is causing apparently enough.
And
of a
this
panic where
this
they're
is
willing
not
to go to
intentional
each other's
whatsoever
throats.
either. So it feels
Yeah,
there's
it's
like no
entirely
like,
accidental.
so like it all just feels like this whole conflict like there's like no weight
Yeah,
to it. It's just kind of there.
it's a backdrop.
It's like a mystery. It's like ooh who's the mystery? At first, based off some descriptions that like the orphans or like Blendon or not Blendon, Blandon gave, I thought it was Joshua at
Belden?
first.
Yeah, I thought it was Joshua too. I actually have it written down here.
Because of the way
we're talking
that they
about a white
described it.
shadow because Joshua wears a white scarf. It's obvious that this is Joshua. That's what I wrote down.
Yeah.
And then later on, I was like,
it was
I'm
like-
an idiot.
It's like later on they describe it as like a mask, and it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
But like it had some good misdirection
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
from
like,
because like we're technically searching for Joshua, so it's like it would be like, oh, well, we're going to see signs of Joshua around the game, and that's going to be like kind of like we're going to be trying to like chase after the ghost, so to
Yeah.
speak.
and later on too, I get misdirected as well with respect to Joshua. So I really like the idea that Joshua is literally the thing in the shadows, where it's like the entire game we're going to be guessing, is that him? And it's not going to be. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah. Then we decided to go to the Ravens first. In my playthrough, it makes sense why we go to the Ravens first because Agate knows them pretty well. So it's like, okay, I know these people. They're pushovers. I'll get them to talk. Essentially, does Shara have like a?
She's
a reason?
basically just like, it's nearby, so let's go to the harbor first.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's literally just its closest.
Yeah, that also makes sense, but like feels like there's less weight there.
Yeah, well, don't worry. She has a whole moment with the boys when she gets in there.
And before you go to that place, you get interrupted by Lloyd again, the fish god.
Which is awesome.
Uh, it just
I remember
seems
being in this
it's
ship,
so
and
out
it's
of
just like
pocket.
Lloyd's there, and then you're like, you come down, and there's Lloyd again. It's just like the Fishers Guild really is just like the secret organization, isn't it?
They're
It's
just
fucking
Ouroboros.
Lloyd. Yeah, Lloyd is Ouroboros.
The second
He's the,
secret,
the second member.
Enforcer number 2, Lloyd.
He has officially fished God. He has officially fished God.
He's now tamed fish god status.
Yeah, he like is wielding a salmon.
Or alternatively, the Fisherman's Guild is another secret evil organization.
Yes, I like that one too. I mean, they officially declared themselves as our rivals, right? So maybe.
Just like the Jaggers. I was about to say Jester, but nope.
No, the Jaegers. The Jaggers is
Wait, was like
they all wander around going
technically, or did Orbos? No, yeah, no. Jester was just a part of Jagger, and then like they just
No,
kinda,
Jester
like-
was Jaeger.
yeah, Jester was Jaeger. It's just the society just used them and broke them essentially.
I
Even though
guess.
like they didn't like weren't a part of Ouroboros because it's
Yeah.
just an Organization 13 thing.
Yeah, I think
don't
it's like
know
the
if there's
Jaeger
actually 13
Corporation was
members,
like
but
the
like
military.
I assume since Joshua's like the 13th member and is probably the last member that was added.
I'd imagine so, but at the same time, we don't know his relationship to Lawrence. So unless Lawrence is like the 12th member,
Yeah, that's my theory. I have some number theories later on due to some stuff. I was like,
well, I'm always down for some modular arithmetic, so we can get into that for sure.
yeah. But anyways, we get a fishing tutorial, and then
Yeah, I wrote down. Where
Also-
did I do it? Estelle is super ecstatic, or was it Lloyd shows the ecstatic Estelle and less interested player a new fishing spot.
yeah. And what sucks too is like some of like the quest rewards is like fishing stuff, and it's like, that sucks
You get-
because now it's like here's like the bait for like side quests, and it's like, I'm not gonna use this.
One of the side quests is you have to get like 6 ingredients or whatever. You can get 3 as the minimum, but the reward for getting all 6 is 1 extra bracer point and 20 bait.
Yeah, I think I only got like 3 or like 5 bait from him. So I didn't
20.
do all of it.
What do I even do with 20 bait? I'm gonna sit there for 3 hours in a pond. Like, fuck off.
Yeah, I'm not doing
fishing.
fishing. I'm not.
What's worse
fishing.
too, I've done some fishing because I was curious if there was a point, and it's literally just like,
It's literally just you hit it when it like says to.
yeah, and sometimes it'll still go out, so you'll hit it as it says hit, and it'll just be like, ah, sorry, it got away. So it's like, why? At least it's different than the stupid fucking Stardew Valley minigame, which is every game nowadays needs to
But
have that
it's-
fishing minigame.
I'm still against you because I have not really seen that minigame outside of that, but I haven't
I've
played
seen
many
it in,
like
like-
farming sims.
I've
I
played
enjoy that
one,
minigame.
and I've played like 3 RPGs, and every single RPG recently has had the stupid friggin' fishing minigame.
Which
It's
RPGs?
everywhere.
What church?
The fucking Star Sea thing, Sea of Stars.
Okay.
Yeah.
My power flash. Let me just real quick.
Are you verifying for me? Sea of Stars has the minigame? Because I guarantee
No.
you it does. I spent hours in a stupid friggin' minigame.
Oh, I just realized my power goes out. Fuck me. I'll have to do this all over again. Let's get quick because I don't trust my power.
Oh, so you want to go for a break, snip off the audio right now, and then restart the audio?
No. I'll just keep going.
Alright.
Because even if I lose any portion of it, it'll be unusable. So, just gotta pray.
Really?
Well, it would be like, okay, I have this first part, but then if my power goes out, like the second part, then it
Just
becomes
continue
weird.
from the second part. Like, I don't
I
get
guess,
what
but
you're saying.
anyways, let's continue. I just
Okay.
got scared.
No, you don't. Yeah, we were at Lloyd, and we were just about to enter the Ravens.
Yeah, I'm done with that. We enter the Rave warehouse, and the three of them now have portraits. Woohoo! They're
Yep.
like important.
And personalities that are distinct from each other. Barely.
They had
Purple
back-
dude is like Joshua, but a gangster. Red-haired dude is like Olivier, but a gangster. Green-haired dude is...
agate.
Yeah, really, isn't he? But a gangster. So,
Yeah, I don't remember green hair and red hair. I don't remember the other dude.
Purple hair doesn't say much. Rice says maybe too much. That's red hair.
Yeah. In my version, Agate comes in brash and tries to give it's like give us the info. It's like Roku is like, I don't like that attitude, and then it's like, oh, we'll fight for the info. Let's do this. And it's like, okay.
In mine, the girls have like a nice talk with the guys, and the guys are like, "Oh hey, it's been a bit," and Estelle's like, "Hi, can we have some info on the Belden or whatever, or on the White Shadow?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, sure, that was from Belden," and they're like, "Cool." Or no, they don't say that. They're like, "Yeah, we'll give it to you, but we've gotten stronger since then. So you want to fight?" And Estelle's like, "Yeah, hell yeah!" And Cher's just like, "Oh, we're doing this now, okay?" And then Rice makes a comment about Estelle, and I guess Char gets jealous or something because she starts flirting with Rice, and it shuts up all the boys. They just like go full like dinner plate eyes mode. She's too much woman for them. And every single time she speaks, they get like really shy, and then just as they're about to fight, she pulls out the whip. And they just like they fall over. They're like, "Oh my god, I can't deal with this. It's too hot." Just so dumb. But whatever.
Yeah. Essentially, we do a refight. It's the exact same fight that we did, but again.
Yeah.
And then when we beat them, Estelle kind of goes like, "Oh, you beat great bracers. You're strong." And it's like, Estelle does this again with Kevin later on, and it's like, Estelle, do you want everybody to become cops? Like, what's
Yeah, it's
the
basically what
thing?
Estelle's doing. I was thinking the same thing as like, Estelle, why do you keep like you say it to kids, you say it to like Estelle, stop. There are other roles in life other than bracer.
Estelle's the greatest propaganda that the Bracers Guild could ever have. And I'm
Yeah.
very proud of her.
Yeah. As you know, the last vestige of the Bracers Guild, 100% she is our icon. Yeah, but they consider it. That's a crazy thing. There's a moment where they're like, "Oh, maybe." So who knows in the future?
Like
we might see
Agate,
them.
like it makes sense, like why Estelle did this, because like Agate's kind of like with her with me, so it's like Agate was in the similar position, so it's like maybe.
In my head, I think Estelle is more so like, kind of. You know, Cassius did the same thing to Agate, so in my head, it feels right that Estelle is accidentally doing it to these boys as well.
And
'Cause
like
it's
I can
well,
see
of course
like
she
them
would. Like
taking
Cassius
it.
is her dad, and Cassius did the same thing to Agate. So it's like it's kind of like showing that Estelle, despite her differences from her dad, is still like clearly her father's child in a way other than just being good with a stick.
And I could see like these ravens taking up that offer. I don't know if I could see Kevin doing that because he's very devoted to his cause.
Yeah, he already has an organization.
Yeah, so like becoming part of another organization might be a little bit difficult.
I think Estelle just like treats it as a compliment, honestly.
Yeah. They tell us a guy named Belden saw the thing and has been at home ever since the incident. So we go over to talk to him. And this kid's kind of part of a rich family, and his dad Norman is the one that's running for mayor, who's the He's not the hotel owner, I don't think.
No, the tourist guy is the hotel owner. He owns Hotel Blanche.
Yeah, but for some reason, like, yeah, which makes sense. I for some reason I thought like Norman was like the industrial person because like they're in like the South, but like no, that wouldn't make sense.
No, it's really on the nose because Portman is in charge of the ports. He is the port man.
And Norman's a Norman guy.
Norman is a normal man.
Yeah, and not Blendon, fucking
The
Belden.
blender.
Blended in a blender. Belden was drunk one night with the boys, and then when we went outside and saw a white shadow floating up in the air, and the person was wearing like an old fashioned getup with a cape. It's like, okay, floating in the air. It's like, did Joshua learn levitation powers? Let's see where this is going.
At this point, I was like, "Is it a drone?" Like,
I did kind of.
Yeah.
Right, you were right in a sense.
oh, don't worry, I get more correct as the thing goes on. I definitely predict this whole thing at some point.
Yeah, and that's basically that. And then it's like, let's go to orphanage. Cool.
Well, actually, there's another Shara moment here.
Okay.
So, of course, this is a young, vulnerable child that's a boy. And so Shara, with her previous experience from Joshua, is still fucking weird about it. Basically, he's like, I don't want to tell you about the ghost because even thinking about it makes me feel like scared. And Estelle's like, you're a friggin' pansy. And Shara's like, hey, if you tell us, I'll give you a present. And I think they even mention her like leaning over or whatever. And then he gets all flustered and tells them. And at the end, she gives him a kiss on the cheek. So yeah.
Agate's like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you if you don't give me this information.
This is also, by the way, when Jesus, man. This is when Estelle says probably one of the greatest quotes ever. Shara, I told you, sex appeal is not a guild-approved weapon. So, fucking, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. You don't tell me.
That's basically what he does.
Oh, that's just Agate, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's so good.
Does it later too. It's a different character.
Of course he does.
We
Also, I wanted to mention another thing. So, I got lost on the way to Belden's place because when they said it's like to the right of the mansion, I thought it was like in the mansion spot. In the right somehow.
I immediately went to there.
Yeah, but obviously not apparently because we didn't actually end up there. But I did talk to the guard at the front of the gates, and he mentioned that the mansion's getting converted into the new city hall. So I thought that was neat. Yeah.
Neat.
So I guess that means the debt has either moved on or erased or something. But either way, the mayor, who was really concerned about
Well,
the mansion
when someone's in
falling out of-
jail, when they're in debt, they're
just still in debt, aren't they?
they're still in debt, but they're in jail because of the debt, essentially.
Yeah, I'm curious. It's like, did the government take over the debt because they took the house? Like, did they do the equivalent like for closing a business or whatever? They just took whatever they could, or did they just go like, look, this will pay it off. Just give us your house, because the house is apparently worth more than his debt was, right? Because the whole plot point was like, you could just sell your house and you'd still have a profit. And he's like, I'd never do that. It's been in my family for years. Well, now he's in jail, so I bet the government's just kind of like, fuck it, we'll just take it, right? But either way, I think it's neat that we get to see that officially. What's more interesting is the military is making it happen. And the military is currently being reorganized. So there's more trust there, but I can't help but question if that's a good idea, basically.
Honestly, it's a move for the people, so I'm fine with it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we've really mentioned it yet, but this is like the first time that this has become like a real election and a real democratic system
yeah.
for a long time. Like the mayor was basically chosen by the fact he was just part of a noble line, and the people just haven't questioned it for the longest time.
That's everywhere in liberal. That's the same thing with Bose, Rolent. I don't even know how he was there. I think he was just a chill dude, I guess. Fucking Grand Seal, the Queen, and then you got Zeiss, which is just whoever's the head of the factory is the leader.
Yeah, which is weird in its own right.
Liberal just has a
But-
weird system. So like,
Yeah.
but like they don't make a mention that it's like the first election. So like, I feel like it would be a bigger deal if like, oh my god, this is the first time in liberal history is the election, but it's like it's not. So like,
Yeah, so
Who knows?
apparently elections do happen. Just I guess really rarely.
it just different parts.
And interestingly, like the people who are going for mayorship, neither of them are aristocrats. Neither of them have a history of aristocracy. They're both meritocrats, right? Like one's a tourist guy. The other
isn't
is
Norman rich though?
Yeah, but Portman probably is too. He runs the harbor. He might not be filthy rich, but he's probably making more than enough. That said, Rowan's harbor district basically has no money, in theory, because they have said that the harbor district is basically defunct because skyships are just better. So who knows?
Who knows? But we get to leave Ron for a little bit and head over to the orphanage, where it just got rebuilt in 2 months. That was fast.
Even though they said it would take like 2 or 3 years, yeah.
Well, no, that was the mayor or something like that. It would take,
Yeah.
it's gonna. So he was lying,
Yeah. I was
but
thinking
still,
that
it's
too.
fast. Still fast. And then Match and Teresa is here to welcome us, and says the kids are off to Sunday school at the village, being taught by a wandering priest. I wonder who that could be.
Yeah, I wrote Kevin Alert.
Kevin Alert.
That was my whole note for the entire section was Kevin Alert.
Kevin Alert.
What?
Estelle and Teresa have like a nice little moment of comforting, of Teresa comforting Estelle when talking about Joshua.
Yeah, it's very clear that they make Matron Teresa into like the adopted mother figure for Estelle this chapter.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
definitely like there's some parallels. Like
I mean, they literally explicitly later
they
go
say
on.
it.
Yeah, they legitimately. Shara is even like, she reminds me of your mom. So
Oh wow, that's even more direct. I think there's a similar line in my playthrough, but like, gee, maybe like Estelle says it. I remember like. Yeah.
no, Shara is legitimately like, oh, she reminds me of your mom. Like almost.
Oh
exactly.
no,
They even
Agate.
look the same.
Agate does the exact same thing, or well, kind of similar. Like, it's I think when leaving, Teresa, because like, once that is like, oh man, I thought I'd be a little bit stronger during that when like they sit down for tea and then they eventually like leave. Agate's like, you're thinking of like, it's something like, oh yeah, the old man's wife, and then the women are strong. Line
What?
is when this happens.
Oh, okay.
Basically, like leaving then like the whole situation. So it's like not directly comparing her, but like that sort of ideas in the air.
Yeah. I wrote down that I'm curious whether or not Matron Teresa will eventually like even get with Cassius or whatever. Because it seems like the kind of thing Cassius would do.
No.
Well, it seems like it would, like, Cassius already basically not orphans. He doesn't cause orphans.
I mean, he's part of the military, so he must.
I mean, I guess, yeah, by definition. But he almost did. Because technically he killed the mom. But, or in his mind. But either way, he adopts
But then he would also
Joshua,
have to
so
die
there's a
to be
parallel there.
for Estelle to be a true orphan.
Yeah, well, he's back in the military. He's getting there, Brandon. You gotta let the man cook. But
Like,
he
you know,
adopted
separate
Joshua.
lives.
He adopted Joshua. He basically like pseudo adopted Charizard. He pseudo adopted Agate. Like, is it that weird to say he'd be interested in the idea of getting with an orphanage lady? I don't know. I think it's an interesting parallel. I don't think it'll happen. At the moment, it's shipping just off of causality, and I'm not really shipping. I just think it would be neat if that did happen later. More likely, though, Matron Teresa's fucking dead after what Agate said. Matron Teresa's not gonna last this game. They're gonna burn down the orphanage with her inside it.
They would have done it. They would have done last game.
Speaking of, the orphanage walls are white.
I guess. I don't know.
The White House wasn't originally white either until Canada burned that down. So, okay. I don't know. Because you paint it white to cover the burn marks. So I don't know if the whiteness is because of something similar, but I thought that was neat.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's everything I have to say about the orphanage.
Yeah. And then we head over to the village where we get a scene of Estelle reminiscing, force-feeding Joshua with a sandwich by the windmill.
Yep. And that's her explicit statement, too.
It was like, do I feel weird about like doing this with Joshua? Something along those lines.
On mine, she's like, I regret force-feeding him this sandwich.
Essentially, yeah, on mine as well.
And Shara's like, I'm proud of you for thinking back on a stupid thing you did and feeling bad about it.
I think it's just like, cool, let's go.
Yeah. Also, we didn't mention something. When we were leaving the orphanage, on my end, Shara got really deep into the whole like characteristics of how everybody actually organizes themselves in Liberal. So, Agate and Cassius, along with basically everybody else, has a tendency to move around Liberal all the time. Nobody really has like a specific location that they go to. I don't remember what brought this up, but something did. And Estelle asks Shara why, although she's seen basically everybody else, she's never seen Agate before. Apparently Agate explicitly avoids Roland because he doesn't get along with Cassius.
Makes sense.
So there's another thing that happened, yeah. I don't know if Agate explicitly said that in yours, but mine Shara basically
there's nothing. I knew nothing of this.
So yeah, Agate avoids Roland,
why
but
would
also
Agate say
around.
that?
That doesn't sound like an Agate thing to say, does it? He'd have to like confess emotions, and that's not manly.
We head into the windmill to find Kevin. I wouldn't say teaching, but teaching the children.
He's reading a graphic novel.
Well, no, he's not reading a graphic novel. He's reading them a young adult novel, which is funny. And then
shit! It is that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a young. He specifically says it's a young adult novel that he brought with him.
Oh God, those poor kids.
No, they were into it though. That's why they were like. That's why they didn't come back from like Sunday school, because like they were supposed to come back, but like they haven't. So like we went to go check up on it, and then almost all the kids have portraits now. Hooray! Except for one. Except for one.
One specific kid, which I thought was hilarious.
You know what you did.
Yeah, fuck that kid. I explicitly wrote out Mary's is adorable. But it's Mary, Polly, I think David, and Clem. Clem already had a portrait, so basically everybody else got one.
The important ones.
Yeah. Again, fuck that child in particular.
Yeah. Kevin was convinced by the kids to read a whole ass book to them, and that's
22 chapters.
You would have to start at the very beginning of class, and then just be like, read like. That would take like so long. That would take the entire day. How long is these Sunday schools? Like all day?
Apparently the whole day. So I'd like to point out, like, oh yeah, by the way, I wrote 22 chapters for kids. How enticing is this book?
They talk about like some like a potential duel or like a potential love story. Like two kids have like different interpretations of
Yeah.
like the shit. I didn't bother.
Mary's like, there's a woman at the end of the book, and Mary's like, oh my god, it's like so lovey dovey, and like there's like a romance thing, and like it's something something. What does she say? Something like estranged lovers, basically. Like we can't be together, but we feel like we must. That kind of thing. And then Clem is like, yeah, they fighting.
Or it's like, no, like, why didn't they fight is more of the thing he's upset at.
Yeah.
But we eventually go back with the orphanage to have tea and, like, bringing along Kevin. This is where Kevin mentions young adult novel. And then we finally get to ask one of the children that saw the thing, Polly, about the figure that she saw. She describes that he was dancing around in circles in the sky, and then another kid corroborates this information as like he briefly saw like a white shadow go off to like the east.
No,
And
no,
like
no. You're technically incorrect. The only thing Polly says is the white man was a white man, which then
Well, no,
Mary explains the rest.
Oh,
Yeah. So the white man was a white man was what Polly said. And then Mary says, actually, she was spacing out doing nothing. And the dude that she saw was spinning around. He seemed to be dancing. Polly then says that she attempted to talk to the guy, and then he just flew away. And then David says he was wearing a white mask.
oh yeah, this is where the white mask. I didn't know if like the guard said first or David.
Yeah, it was David. And then this is when I guessed it was the Phantom Thief.
And at this point, I was like, okay, it's just some guy. It's just some guy from the organization now.
I was like, what would a Phantom Thief look like? And in my head, it's like Olivier, but with a mask. Yeah, that seems right.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is the Phantom Thief.
Then we leave. Kevin accompanying us for us to Rion when he kind of just leaves right afterwards. But he's in your party for a little bit, and he's got like a crossbow, some arts. He has a concealed sword in his crossbow with one of his attacks, so that's pretty neat. And his ultimate's pretty wild, where he like just like blue septium like shit goes all over and puts like shields like around everybody. It's like the most unique animation here.
Yeah, it's wild. Like it's full Final Fantasy X nonsense. With, like,
It's
the
church power.
shifting of the world, and like, dude, the Vatican is sick.
And also scary.
Yeah, Shara, by the way, mentions that crossbows are extremely rare, and like people who wield crossbows are rarer still. And then this is when Estelle's like, you would make a good bracer. To which Kevin's like, oh my god, I can't believe you'd say that.
Yeah, Kevin's still on his old shtick of like flirting with Estelle.
Every single chance he gets. Not with Shara, funnily enough, which I was kind of disappointed by, because Shara would 100% like cream the dude, but nope. The one time Shara keeps her mouth shut.
Listen, it's not an easy target for her.
That's
She
true.
knows her game.
Also, so Kevin reveals that Eidos, like the religion of Eidos, whatever it's called, does actually have a heaven, and it does have a hell.
Yeah, I don't know what the heaven's
heaven
called.
is just called Eidos. Hell is just called Gehenna. So
I don't know if
there
it's-
is heaven and Gehenna. I'm assuming it's something like Hades, where it's like Hades is Hades. Hades is the place, and Hades is the person who runs Hades. With Gehenna, they just say they ascend to the sky to join Eidos. So I don't know if that is Eidos or if it's just heaven, and we just don't
It's
give it.
probably
a
like
canonical
we
name.
don't know the term yet, or there must have been a term at one point. or it's just Eidos. I don't really care, but it's,
And
it's
then
funny that they have the hell equivalent.
yeah, and then they mentioned that there is a limbo that exists where if you're not really accepted into either of them. And it is based on like righteousness too. So righteousness is like it's basically Catholicism, and then there's limbo.
I don't know
And-
why Trails just this. If you're gonna have like a new religion, why reinvent Christianity?
There's this weird like. To be fair,
It's
from
just
everything
the same thing.
from every single perspective other than the way that we think about Catholicism's pretty goddamn metal. Like we have creatures that are like malformed winged featureless things that are more powerful than anything could ever be. Some of them are talking swords, some of this are just eyes floating in space, and then there's an almighty figure that just puppets the entire universe and he's supposed to be a good guy. Like Catholicism sounds freaking wild outside of any area that's grown up with Catholicism. So I know that Japan has like a really big like hole in its heart for Catholic like myth.
They
not
just
Catholic.
they love symbolism there.
Yeah, and Catholicism has that and then some. That's for goddamn sure. But yeah, so Limbo's also exists, and Limbo is just basically lifted from not the Catholic idea, but the pagan associated idea of limbo, which is just like you have something that's associated to your soul and you're stuck to that thing until whatever. It's not really pagan, it's more like the like English version of, so like the UK kind of English version of limbo, and your spirit is like attached to something. So Kevin believes in ghosts with like a kind of logical interpretation, which is weird, but it's the Trails universe, so God knows if it's actually some Orbital manifested nonsense. But there's that. Finally, Shara mentions in her when she did a traveling band, because she was I forgot the term for it. I don't remember if it's a good term or a bad term. Gypsies? Because Shara was a gypsy. I don't know if that's a bad term.
It is.
Is it? Is there a
Yeah.
better term than gypsy?
I don't know.
Hold on.
Because gypsy implies a negative connotation.
Roma. There we go. Roma. Or nomads. Nanik, Gitans. I guess nomad is probably traveler. Yeah. Nomad, vagabond. Vagabond is not a good term. I'm going to say nomad. She was a nomad. And she used to travel with a wandering sister, which is the equivalent to a wandering priest. So you have wandering priests and you have wandering sisters. Again, this might be the wandering sister from the next game. I have no idea. But apparently, wandering priests and sisters are just weird people. And after all of that, that's all of the lore that's just absolutely dumped on us by Shara. I don't know if Agate says even a quarter of this.
Probably no. No, I don't. I think it's pretty straightforward. That's what you what you'll get from him. He's a pretty straightforward guy.
Yeah, Shara is a chatterbox. I'm very glad that we accidentally got like fairly decent parallels to our playstyle in this game.
Agate do the big hit, and he kill pretty good.
Shara do the big yap. Her mouth move funny.
And then finally, the last person we gotta talk to is the guard at the gate. His whole story is he was very sleepy, and then like in his sleeping state, he saw the masked man floating above the waterfall, and out of reflex, he just shoots him, and it's like, and like. It doesn't face him. Nothing happens, and then he just kind of flies off north. It's like
If that was just a dude, the guy would have killed the guy for being spooky.
well, like not many people, float, so
Yeah, that's true. But imagine you're like testing out some new tech. Like you're Russell. You're testing out like a drone, and you're like wearing like something to screw with people. And like you're in a waterfall because you're like, oh, I want to see a cool like angle of the waterfall. And then you turn and there's a guard. Who, oh, hello there, and he just fires at you. You're just dead. Like
I mean,
Bullshit.
I mean, governments don't like drones, so pretty apt.
That's true. That's fair. Yeah. But yeah.
But yeah, but and it's like that's this whole thing, and then we leave. But before we leave, we run into a traveling family,
And a demon girl.
a mother, father, and a daughter, from an unknown place, from what I can tell. Probably Erbrothean, if I had to make a guess, because they look fancy enough for it. But yeah, we kind of like see them. I don't know why we stopped to see them, but like then like the little girl kind of like asks us about the waterfall. Her name is Reina, and the conversation kind of leads into who we are and then who they are. But they are kind of like vague because it's like the manager's like on a business trip. Doesn't say from where, or for what. It's just business trip, and it's like we're bracers. And it's like, do you know what a bracer is, you idiot?
Yeah, I'm convinced that child is one of the 13.
It would be very funny.
I'm not at all surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if she was like, "Oh, she's the puppet master, and those two were her drones," because they were just straight up like, "I'm here for business.
I am mother's.
I'm Mr. Business."
I am because they don't get named. They're like
They're literally
Raina's
father and mother.
Yeah. So I could definitely see like her like in a doll like her, because she kind of like has like a doll like appearance, so like like having like doll like powers, because like we get to see like different power sets. Like power sets are a thing in this universe. That like it's pretty like easy. I could definitely see it. It's either that Secret Enforcer, or what I'm gonna go with a royal family from Embrodeon, maybe like a princess or something, because it's either like secret villain or just really important character, because it's feels so weird to have like this one little scene and then okay, they don't matter.
See, and I think
That's important for sure.
Yeah, I think that the reason I'm so convinced that she is evil is because she goes from waterfall to who are you and what do you do, like instantly. Like what kid cares about the person's name who just provided the waterfall info? That would be the father or the mother that says something, not the kid. Like there's something about the kid where it's like the way you're acting is so clearly like you're not a kid, or something's up there. Like, but yeah. Ultimately, that's really the only interesting thing that really happens at this waterfall. Then we just head back.
Yeah. And then we arrive back at the Guild, and Niall and Dorothy are there to kind of like show them a picture of like the white floating man. It's like, oh, hey, I took a picture, and it's like, oh man, this is weird. We've been hearing like this weird thing, so we'll take it to the Guild. And it's just like, it's so bright on the picture. It's like, how would you not notice this?
What's great too is like the very first thing they mention is like, yeah, Dorothy's caused a panic again. It's the second time Dorothy took a picture absent-mindedly and has caused an entire city to break out in fear.
Yeah, because of this picture being taken, a dude from outside kind of was like, oh man, there's a riot going on, or there's about to be there's a big gathering of of the two political candidates outside the bridge. It might turn into a riot. And then when we go there, we learn that like it's all because of like, the ghost thing by the hotel. And then it's like, you guys obviously did it, even though we have like zero proof for stuff. And it's like, what? What is this this? But anyways.
In my notes, I literally said, apparently it's happening on the bridge. We dispatched to solve the problem. Of all things, the two politicians are arguing over the ghost. Gods. Literally just like, why is this what they're talking about? Who cares?
This is
but you
like
know
the
what? It
dumbest
doesn't matter.
reason. Doesn't matter
Because it leads into quite possibly the best.
Yeah, it's about to get heated when the champion of love and peace comes to break the tension, but not just in a normal way.
Someone awoke the town bard.
And not just anybody, or not just any entrance, because since they're on a big bridge, Olivier arrives on a boat in between the two groups and then starts to play Serenade, which I think is just his theme. I don't know if it's a different one. I can't remember the themes that he plays. because like most of the stuff that he plays is literally just his theme, like the piano and like song from the previous game was just his like theme, so it might just be his theme again or new theme. I don't know. And then once you finish the themes, it's like everybody's like, okay, that was a thing. Let's settle our differences, I guess.
They literally cringe so hard. They have like post-cringe clarity. like
he's
like, okay.
he's always effective in his job, just not in the way he thinks.
What's cool about this, though, is that Dorothy comes right up to him afterwards. So everybody else is dispersing. But Dorothy's like, yes, I'm taking pictures of this guy.
Yeah, she gets some
And this
good shots.
establishes like a cool Dorothy-Olivier dynamic that I love. Like from this point on, Dorothy and Olivier
Literally
are just like best buds.
The dynamic is they're just idiots. That's it. They're just the group idiots.
Yeah.
And then we go back to the guild to figure out the real problem. But before we leave, Olivia's like, "No, wait, don't leave me."
Yeah, it's really good because he's like, "Yeah, take a picture of my good side. Yeah, I'm doing so well." And he's like side eyeing Estelle, going like, "Yeah, I'm cool, aren't I?" And Estelle is just like, "Okay, anyway, where are we going again? Yeah, this way." And she wanders off scene, and he just goes from like, "Yes, I'm great," to oh, wait, where are you going?" And Dorothy comments like, "Oh yes, perfect. You look just so sad and depressed."
Oh yeah, I love that desperation.
Yeah,
Something
exactly.
like
You can see the desperation in his eyes. I love Olivier so much. Our husband's great.
He's so great. Yeah, and then like he's now in the guild with us. He's now attached us to our hip, our little ball and chain. Back at it again.
He says, and
yeah,
I thought to myself, she had been deprived of my person for so long. Her happiness is imperiled. I must welcome her back.
Yeah, he heard that we were in town, and then came over to see us, which sus.
For
but
our benefit.
yeah, don't
It gets
know is
worse
true
later.
We don't know really is true if he was like genuinely happy or if like he's doing this for like some sort of ploy.
Shara actually gets that intuition too. And the very first thing Shara asks is whether or not Olivier knows where Cassius is. To which he responds like, yeah, of course I do.
I think Agate does something like similar, but not like to like that extent.
Yeah, Shara is definitely
Because
more
like Agate's suspicious of Olivier.
of course he is. He's suspicious of everyone.
Because like
Agate is as close to paranoid as you can be in a manly fashion.
yeah. But now that we got all the info, we got to put together. Drew, we get to see a map, board of the map, X's on
Olivier
like, village. That
puts everything together.
Yeah. If you get the question wrong, he literally does because I got it wrong.
I got it right, and he still got it. He still does it.
Yeah, but like he does it even more. The other,
I guess so.
Version. It was
But
just
basically,
like
it's like
because he described it was like it's so obvious. It was like, is it okay? Because like I first like maybe it's the direction we're in. It was like maybe it's like the time that they appeared because they're like slightly different. But then it's like that's wrong. It's like okay. But anyways, we
yeah, I
conclude
had no
that-
idea either. But it's basically from Erletten, the Spectre went north. From Rouen, it went northeast, and from Mercia Orphanage, it went east.
Yeah,
and if
and
you
then
look at
we
the map,
concluded-
they all point to.
Yeah, they all point to Janus Royal Academy. It's like
Good job,
they've all
Olivier.
came from like a singular point. Because I think it went out and then everybody saw it like go back that way. So that you know that what that means, it's time to investigate the Royal Academy. But also this is the point where you can do like most of the side quests of this chapter, which are pretty mid.
I wouldn't even say most. This is where you just do all of them all at once, except
Well,
for,
like I did the side quests like much earlier than this. Most of them.
Yeah, I did them all right now. All the monster stuff I just did in the
I
background
didn't
while we
do
were
any
talking,
side quests. I just
basically.
went immediately to Janus Royal Academy because I did all the side quests before that.
See,
And then I didn't check the
I-
thing because I missed a side quest here of like the quiz one.
I uh, did all the side quests I could, but before that, I went to Janus because I was like lost, and I was trying to find one of the routes that I needed to kill a monster, and I was like, "Is it here?" And without looking, I went straight to Janus. And Shara actually stopped me from going into Janus and was like, "Hey, have you gone to Sephiroth Tower yet? I don't think we have, so we should go there first." So even though Sephiroth Tower is a side quest, I don't think you can actually skip it.
No, you can, because I never got that.
All right, well, you also just said that you finished it before you went to Janus.
But like, is the door like open?
No, I mean like I couldn't even enter the trail. Like the trail to get into like the long path before the scene where you can get into the door. I wasn't even allowed to go there. Shara stopped me there, like by the signs.
Weird, because like if you never engaged with that like side quest, that would never happen.
Yeah, I don't know how it works either.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
But either way, I ended up going and doing all this stuff.
Maybe because that's like this is like the last chance you can do it because then you won't have. But that doesn't make sense because like you can do it without that side quest without Dorothy.
Mm-hmm.
So
maybe they're just trying
weird.
to push you in the direction of just having Dorothy there. I don't know. Because there are two different ways you can finish the Sephiroth Tower photo quest. Blech, jeez. The Sephiroth Tower photo quest. And this is the only one I'm going to talk about too, because all the other ones are like irrelevant.
Because like what quickly one of them is like literally like here's a puzzle it's a hidden there's hidden side quests in this, which is like great. That's fun. Have fun doing this game without a guide 100%ers.
Yeah, there was hidden quests in the last one too, and I don't know how many we missed in the first one, but it just didn't matter because you could get S rank without trying. In this one, if you miss side quests, you're just done, bozo. Fuck you, right? Which sucks. But
yeah, that one was just kind of like simple puzzle. That, and then everything else was just kill quests or gather
yeah, there were
items.
so many kill a big monster quests. There was like 4.
There was 3, I think.
There was 4 because it's listed on the guide.
Oh wait,
that I
no,
used.
there
There's
is 4
Monster
because
2,
there's
3,
one
4.
for
There's
each
4.
major like road area in this
Yeah.
route.
Yeah, it was awful, and you had to go back to some of them because you had to wait for it to go later. So there was no natural path. You just at some point had to say, "Okay, I'm going to backtrack for 10 minutes to go to this one road." But I've had that issue since the first game. And then this game, they introduced this whole notion of like, yeah, you have to grind monsters to get ingredients to do the thing. And it's like, fuck, I don't want... Ugh. In the Sephiroth Tower, I had to grind for a juicy bone, which you only get from these snake boys. And it's just like, I was there for at least an hour longer than I needed to be just because I got unlucky. Because you have to go like all the way to the bottom of the tower and then at least on the second floor to find one of the snakes. And it's just such a pain in the ass. And then the reward is nothing but a single bracer point extra. It's awful. But anyway, no other side quests are really worth talking about. There's a lighthouse test run. That's the other one I wrote down. It's just you talk to the old man again, basically. And you do a puzzle. That's what Brandon was talking about. The cool thing about the photo, though, is you get some more lore on the Tetracyclic Towers, which I have written down here. So, first things first, to get this, you have to go to the... Oh, God, where is it? The hotel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, on the left when you enter the building. Basically, from some arbitrary magical source, which I'm assuming is the Magic Man, the researchers gained information that all 4 Tetracyclic Towers have activated. And so they want you to take a picture of the device that sits on the top, which you may remember from the first chapter. Wiseman was studying one of those. So
Yeah, and we didn't go into this tower last game because I don't think you could, because that's where this guy... No, Yes? Or
I
was
think
that
you go in this
Bose's?
one.
Or was that Bose's? Never mind,
have
that
no
was
idea.
Bose's tower. Never mind. But still, you didn't go to this tower, I don't think, unless there's side quests. I don't know. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, I have no idea. It's fine.
Cut it.
Honestly, whatever. So, in my notes, by the way, Santos explicitly says, and this is the researcher you're talking to, he's explicitly like, I just need a simple photo, nothing fancy, really straightforward, here's a camera. And so you go to the tower. It's a maze and a nightmare. I don't know how long it took you to get through the whole thing. Like, did you go for all the chests and stuff, or did you just try and get
I
through it?
eventually got all the This was way less of a nightmare than the one in Zeiss.
I had a literal layout and a step-by-step guide to get through the chambers, and I ignored it for the first part.
Like
and I was there
most
for
of the
about
rooms
like
are
an
pretty,
hour.
I mean, most of I probably spent like 30 to 40 minutes in there. The only reason I struggled a little bit is like I don't think I had any revive art items and or like good stuff, so like I was like running low on resources because I went immediately to this area with just Estelle and Agate, and I did like both. I did all this stuff in there, so I made it so it was harder technically for me.
Yeah, I had Dorothy and Shara and Olivier and
You just had 3 people.
did I have a fourth? I don't think I had Chloe
No, you
yet.
did. No, you don't get Chloe.
No, that's later. So I had 3 and Dorothy. So it could have been harder, but Dorothy never really gets touched unless you're fighting big monsters, because fuck you, I guess. So yeah, you get to the top and it's cool and all. It's glowing blue, but you can't really interact with it at all. The only thing you really get out of it is the picture itself. And if you have Dorothy there, when you take a picture, Dorothy will, or Estelle will ask Shara for some reason if she can ask Dorothy to take the picture. So Shara says yes, and then you ask Dorothy, who's right there, and then says yes when you ask her. So it's like this weird convoluted thing. But basically, Dorothy walks up and takes the picture. Interestingly, you get more or less bracer points depending on where you are on the top of this damn thing. So if you're in the middle, the central tower, that's where you get the most. But if you're just off in a corner somewhere, that matters.
Yeah, because like what I had to do was like because it was just me and Agate, I just had to figure out a position to like take the photo. So like you can move anywhere, and then you have to go into your menu and then select a key item to do to where you stood to take the picture, essentially.
Yeah.
Like this
And
was
when
like
you
the
take
use
the
of
picture,
this was the use of a. I took in like basically like the middle.
yeah, and that's where you get the optimal stuff, is right in the middle.
Because
then
the
once you
game
get
is
it-
like, are you sure you want to take a picture over here? I was like, okay.
Wait, is it like, does it like heavy hand you? It's like, hey, you're in the corner, buddy. There's a better spot over there.
Kind of. I don't know. I'm not liking the introduction for these key items, but you know, we'll see if they get any better, because this was very dumb way to do it, because like just let me take the fucking picture.
Yeah, this didn't need to be its own like thing. It could have just been an
Like I
exclamation
enjoy
mark.
the Dorothy thing of like waiting for a thing. It's like, oh, that's neat. The two differences between thing. It's like a neat thing, but I don't like that it's like rewards are tied behind you waiting.
Yeah, because imagine you're trying to 100% this without a guide, and you
Yeah,
see
like I was
this.
saying,
from
this
this
is a
point on
nightmare.
to the end of the game, you're constantly like trying to push
Like, you
it
have
for
to
as
wait-
long as you possibly can. To
And you gotta
finish a
hope
side
that's
quest
not-
just in case.
Well, I guess you'll know if it's like a short one if it says short on there.
Yeah, and it goes from long to like medium to short or whatever, and short
Because
just
this is a
means
medium
the
one.
next thing that you do.
And long just is like, I guess like long is either monsters or items, I guess. Like give a person.
I mean,
item
regardless,
quest.
it just says at some point like long can convert to medium, can convert to short. There are some quests that are just permanently long. I think the monster quests are long
I think that
forever.
all the monster quests are long.
Yeah. But basically, short means the next time you advance the quest, it's gone. Long means you have at least until the next time. Several times, normally. But yeah, after you take the picture, you get the opportunity to either go back into the tower or teleport back. I recommend teleporting back if you're not going for the 6 items.
I did. Because
Yeah, it's much
fuck
nicer.
that. Because I
then
was
you
like,
just get
I
back
wanted
and you
this.
get the picture.
I want that option for fucking Zeiss's tower, and I did not get that. So I was there for like 40 minutes. Thank you, towers. I hate you.
And I was there for about 5. And yeah, so you get back and you talk to Santos, and he's like, okay, cool, thanks for the picture. You have to develop it, so you go to the Orbital Factory, and then it gets developed. And in mine, because Dorothy took the picture, he damn near cried looking at the picture. He's like, this is a work of art. This is above the level of normal prose. I don't know if I can even pay you for this, basically. To which Dorothy is just literally teehee. That's it. That's what she has to add about the whole situation. And you actually get to see the picture. I don't know if did you get to.
I got this. I saw a picture of when I was looking through my playthrough for writing notes. It looked nice compared to mine, where it was just decent.
Oh, so they do have two separate pictures?
Oh, yeah, they have different pictures. There's probably like a bad medium like mine and a good one like yours.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, yeah. I'd love it if it's just like the bad is just like Estelle's finger on the lens.
Maybe it is.
I could see that. Yeah, and then that's that. He just goes off to do his own thing. That's the only relevant side quest. From this point on, I just went straight to Janice.
Yeah. And then before we go to Janice, this is the bit with Aga and Oliver. Like, they don't know each other. So Agate's like, who the fuck's this guy? I fought alongside you, but know nothing about him, so I don't trust you. And it's like, oh, looks like I need to get some trust from the brute. And then Agate about takes his head off for calling him a brute, or like being like, I gotta tame this wild beast or something like that.
That sounds like Olivier 100%.
And then Agate yells at him.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and that's basically the whole bit between them, kind of, when they interact. Then we finally arrive at the Royal Academy, and we meet up with the old gang, do a little bit of reminiscing, a little crying.
A lot of crying, yeah.
Stell does a lot of crying this chapter.
Yeah.
She's going through it.
Where did I even... It's like... There's so many notes, but effectively nothing happens this whole section of the chapter.
Yeah, basically, I'm going to surmise this. There's like 2 scenes before we go to the old schoolhouse that are like really interesting, but like we assemble the squad to do some investigation.
But one of the very first things that happens is Olivier does learn that Joshua was dressed as a princess.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And so he's like, from now on, I am hunting this man down and I am getting him to wear a dress.
I guess that is indeed the running bit, but I don't think he's really in a dress mood right now.
I'm just imagining Joshua with like the fucking glazed over eyes and a dress.
I mean, that's basically what he was at the first time he wore it.
Oh my god, I need to see that edit so bad. Yeah, sorry, do your summation.
Yeah.
Or summation.
We do a little, we assemble a squad to do a little investigation. It's time to split up, gang. Stella and Chloe go around to ask the students, while Agate and Jill Agate / fucking Shara and Jill ask the teachers what's up, and then Hans goes to look at some records, and then Olivier and Dorothea just will do stuff. They don't do stuff.
Literally, it's like Jill is like, they're in like the army mode. Jill's like, all right, people. For me, it was Shara and I will question the teachers and staff. Hans, you check the records and see if anything like this has ever happened before. Estelle, Chloe, you guys are going to investigate the students directly. And Dorothy and Olivier, you guys do you. Wherever your artistic spirit takes you.
Oh, yeah,
and those two are just like, of course.
I forgot the artistic spirit line.
And it just goes completely over Dorothy's head. She's like, okay. And then Olivier is just like, of course.
Like, I see where I like, you can talk to Dorothea and she's just taking like pictures of like food.
Yep. And Olivier is just trying to find the girls' dormitory.
Oh yeah, I couldn't find where I didn't really search him out, so I don't know what he was up to. So
he was literally just playing his lute in the middle of a courtyard, and Cher's like, "So what are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm just having a break, basically." And he's like, I'm not so interested in the ghosts, but I heard there's a girls' dormitory, and so I, as the noble hero that I am, need to figure out where the girls' dormitory is to protect them from what could be." And Estelle's like, "Yeah, I'm not telling you." So yeah.
There is an, I don't know, I think this is an optional conversation with Hans.
Oh, it is definitely. I know what you're talking about for sure.
Ye- I don't know about the Chloe and Estelle one. Is that, I think that one's also optional, which is wild.
I don't think so because I think if you're talking about like you're talking about
Basically,
the
just
playroom,
progression
right?
flags.
Yeah, that
Because,
one
like-
is a progression flag. I don't think Hans's is.
Yeah, which makes sense because there's a fucking CG of it that I found. I was like, there's no way they made this optional. Anyways, this optional scene with Hans is basically his experience with Joshua during that week. Basically,
I'm kind of
like,
surprised by how chummy those two were.
they bonded a little bit. Joshua
Yeah.
kind of like, whenever he talked about like his new life, he was like so energetic and such. But whenever like the past came up, he did the fluorite stare.
Every time I imagine him with the stupid fucking face. I really need to find where I texted you that because it's just it's my favorite Joshua picture.
It's
by
great.
far.
That's essentially it. But it was just like, it was a surprising thing. It was like, oh, that's sweet. And it's like, bring him back or something like that. It was like more like kind of like a affirmative thing. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's nice.
It was like the fourth time in which they were like, "Oh, there it is." I'm gonna send it to you again because I think it's necessary. But basically,
But this is not the true fluoride stare because he still has a pupil.
that's true. Yeah, Joshua when he's told to put on the dress again. This is gonna have to be cut out, but yeah, I completely lost track of where we are. Hans, right?
Yeah, basically done with that unless you have like anything more to say about Hans.
I was surprised by how much, because like from our perspective in the first chapter, it almost seems like Hans was being really pushy with Joshua. Joshua was kind of like shrugging him off. But it's interesting that Joshua actually opened up a lot to him in the time that they were there.
because
just all
like
in close
Joshua
quarters.
doesn't really have any like male friends.
Yeah. And all the female friends he has just want to sleep with him, and that's effectively it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I
also-
like so like, because that seems like the first like genuine connection he had like to someone like similar to his like gender and age range.
Also, there is the Jill is apparently a politician or wants to be a politician.
Oh yeah.
That was another thing that was talked about.
Be-
And apparently,
It's like, oh yeah, she could be run better for mayor or something. But I was like,
yeah,
oh,
she
she's
says
too young.
if only the election happened in 10 years from now, I would have made a better mayor than a lot of them.
And
as
then
well-
basically to sum up, you go to like some specific students, and they basically say that they saw like the ghost man go into the back of the schoolyard, and that's
Yeah, all
essentially
three
it.
of them in increasing detail. Literally, it's just like, he was scary. Also, he,
he
went
had a
that
mask.
way. Yeah. He was spinning. Like,
Yeah.
that was a ABC. There
Yeah.
you go.
But I'd say this is like my favorite part of the chapter. This little scene, which it's not optional, but you go to the auditorium where Estelle and Chloe kind of like reminisce about the play, and then Chloe kind of says the loud part out loud where she had a crush on Joshua, and she was really hoping for a real kiss during that play, but she couldn't do it because of Estelle. And then
No, she-
yeah.
She didn't necessarily say that. She said she was fully willing to kiss him. But remember, from the first chapter, Joshua made it out as though he didn't have any intention to do so. So we just got confirmation that Chloe attempted it, and Joshua effectively denied it.
Yeah. But there's also like, oh, I couldn't do this to Estelle. There's also kind of her mentality.
No, it's not. I couldn't do this to Estelle. It's
or
I
like I
can't
couldn't
compete
match
with Estelle.
I can't
It's
match.
specifically I
Yeah,
can't
I
compete
couldn't.
with
Yeah, I
Estelle.
couldn't match up to Estelle. That's the
Yeah,
specific
because it's
thing.
like the way that he spoke about you, the way his eyes lit up. It's like, yeah, I've got no chance. And then Estelle's like, nah, you're cute and you're attractive, and she's like, yeah, but like the Josh or Estelle, you have a very specific way with men. And Estelle's like, okay.
And then this whole conversation kind of leads into Chloe feeling insecure about becoming the new queen, and that she's not a good leader, or she doesn't have like the resolve for it. And if she becomes the queen, she'll have to throw out her old life behind because of the royalty. Like she doesn't say it's like I can never like meet these people again. It's just it will never be the same. And
Well, she does specifically say that she'd have to completely abandon her schooling.
well, completely abandon it, but like more specifically, like the relationships wouldn't be like the same. They'd be in a different context.
And some of them just wouldn't exist. Like she'd never talk to Jill again. She explicitly said. She probably never talked to Estelle again. The whole shebang, because you become royally locked in a tower. That whole shebang.
She probably might probably speak with
She probably
bracers.
would, but it's a teenage girl, right?
Yeah. And then
She's
Estelle's
kind of like compares to Joshua here. Or do you want to talk about Estelle's thing?
I guess I'll do the immediate thing with Estelle because then they kind of wrap back around to Joshua. Is like Estelle, Estelle, I feel naively thinks that because of all these thoughts and worries about responsibility that she has what it takes to be the queen. It's like because like I can kind of see where it's like you're thinking about more of these things than like the Duke like Duran, but also in like the same thing is like you need some confidence to rule a country. But like I get the sentiment.
It's to me it was
Like
just
Estelle's
like
like
I've got
all
that same
pure
kind of
off like a sediment person.
yeah, I've gotten the same advice my entire life. Is like the moment that you care about doing something to a particular degree of efficiency, you're immediately going to be the kind of person that would become better at the thing compared to somebody who didn't care. Is effectively what it all boils down to. And it's just like it's a nothingism. It's like no shit. It's like water's
Yeah.
wet kind of a deal.
Yeah, it's like okay, this is
arbitrary
like
reassurance.
it's like a decent way to like go into like a more deeper topic, but like it's usually like surface level stuff. That's a nice gesture, nonetheless.
Yeah. And then this is when Chloe responds with like, yeah, but it'd be kind of nice if like I almost admire the way that Joshua does things where it's like when he left, he just left. Like he didn't let anybody know. He just had his own opinion and he just executed on it. He knew what to him had to be done and he just put that upon himself and did it. To which Estelle responds like, don't admire that.
Yeah, it's like since Joshua didn't hesitate to leave them behind, she can't forgive that part of, or they. I don't know if it's specifically Estelle or both of them.
I think she
but, like,
said they because it was like Cassius and Estelle. What he did was unforgivable.
Yeah.
And then Chloe's like, yeah, actually, now that I think about that, what he did is truly unforgivable.
and that's like one part that she can't forgive about him. Yeah, and I like that scene. That's a nice scene.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked
There's-
by the Chloe reveal because, well, I'm not shocked by the Chloe reveal, but now I'm kind of curious because the way that she talks to Estelle about like admiring Estelle and how much she loves Estelle, I'm curious if this is just going to be Chloe falling for each part of the Bright family at this point.
Probably not. This game was made in fucking 2005.
I don't know, man. So far, this has been like a romance fucking love fest across this entire thing about the Estelle twins. So God knows.
This
Or the
game
Estelle
feels
siblings.
very hetero.
Olivier.
Olivier is a
Every
fucking
part of the game
stereotype.
except for Olivier and the androgynous Joshua and yeah.
It's all kind of like fucking. I don't want to get into it, but it's all
Either
played
way.
up for laughs, but and it's of its time, so I don't really care. I'm not like up in arms like, oh man, why does this not affirm to like my beliefs? It's just more. It's what it is.
As somebody part of the community who hates the fucking notion of being part of the community just because I'm assigned to some arbitrary fucking identity, but whatever. I don't care. So that's my by approval, I guess. But yeah, that's really the only interesting part about this. We eventually leave the auditorium, which I just now remembered what it's called, to go all the way back to the clubhouse, where we reconvene with everybody and discuss our plan of attack.
There
To
is
the,
one interesting thing of like a servant maid dynamic, which was funny.
Oh, you're talking about Felicity?
Yeah, or like whatever. There's nothing really important there. It's just like that's a funny dynamic of like basically almost like friends at birth, but one's like a servant, one's like upper class, upper royalty, going to like the
Yeah.
same school.
Yeah, there's Felicity and Reina, and basically like the way that it's acted out, Reina is like the servant, I guess, of Felicity, and Felicity is like a tsundere kind of figure to
Yeah.
Reina, and like is just like the most obnoxious person. And Reina has like feigned loyalty in a sense, where it's like super sarcastic. And going out of her
It
way
is
to
a-
piss off Felicity. And then Felicity like just completely dramatically loses her mind. They,
It's
like-
one of the fun NPC dialogues that you're forced to go with generic. They're not generic characters. They have like stuff. It's just they're.
I mean,
bas-
a stereotype isn't just generic by the fact that it's a stereotype. A stereotype is generic when.
Oh
There's
no,
nothing
I'm just
else
saying
beyond the
generic
stereotype.
NPCs.
Okay.
At least Trails' generic NPCs have fun. Have fun.
Yeah, there aren't that many like NPCs that. I
Yeah,
can't actually think of
mo-
a single NPC that isn't at
There's-
least interesting in some.
Oh,
manner.
there's a lot of boring NPCs that I've randomly talked to. Here's one line. That's it. So it's like, it's not like the full thing, but it's like everybody has.
I
a
don't
name.
really know if they count. They're just signposts.
And they're still NPCs. But anyways,
I guess so.
we meet up to back. Yeah, we meet back up, and then we kind of conclude that this ghost is at the old schoolhouse. And I was like, okay, we got this. And then Estelle's kind of like, oh, what's outside? And then looks out and then sees the quote unquote ghost itself, kind of like floating
Well,
around, then like moving
Before this,
outward.
I'd like to point out before this, Estelle was like chattering in her teeth, and like Olivier and Dorothy were like, "Yeah, let's go explore. It's just about nighttime.
yeah.
It's the perfect time to go into the evil schoolyard or whatever." And everybody's like, "Ooh, it's spooky and scary. This will be perfect." And they were all treating it like a fun house. And Estelle was losing her shit. And then she sees something out the window, and she goes and investigates, and it's the ghost. And she's like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." And then just collapses into the
Yeah.
floor.
Passes out.
And wakes up like 20 minutes later in the girls' dormitory and gets out of bed and is like, "Okay, now it's on."
Okay,
don't
I
know-
want to beat the
she
shit out of this
specifically-
ghost.
She specifically says, "I don't know if this is a spook or a dude with an airship in his pants or whatever, but I'm gonna polish my staff with his face."
So great.
I love. And Olivier's just like, "There we go. That sounds about right. This is the Estelle I know."
Well, I don't think Olivia is at because this is in the girls' dormitory where she wakes
No,
up.
he's there.
Is
The
he?
whole of them are there. They're all around it.
Okay.
And then
yeah.
they're just like, they get up and they go.
Yeah, and we head over there, but Jill and Hans stay back because they can't fight, and well, Dorothy
For
can't
some
fight.
reason, Dorothy's allowed to come. I
Well,
don't get that.
well, I mean, like the whole reason Dorothy came along was like to take a photo and like stuff to like investigate this thing. But like the true danger is not out there, so like they don't want to endanger like students who can't fight. And like in my playthrough, is like, okay, Chloe, you can come. You've proven yourself at this point.
I think Cher is just like, well, obviously you're coming.
Well, they fought together, so you know
Yeah.
they know.
No. Sorry, Shara goes, "I don't know if this is a good idea, Your Highness." To which Chloe is like, "Well, I can take on myself, and I want to come." And Shara's like, "Oh, okay, fine."
Agate has a similar thing.
Does
Basically,
he also go, "Okay"?
not like he goes like okay. It was like, are you sure you want to do this royalty or whatever? And then you go through this whole old schoolhouse section is basically solving the Riddler's puzzles.
This is when I was damn near convinced it was the Phantom Thief, because this is the exact same thing that used to happen in the side quests in the first chapter.
That's fun.
Yeah, letters and everything. He's just like, here's a note, and it makes no goddamn sense, and then you just like travel around arbitrarily until you see something you can click on, and then you're like, oh, okay, that's the thing. Obviously, it's
Yeah, it's very. They try their best to make it engaging. But it's very easy
Yeah.
when it's like you don't even give you multiple options to be wrong. It's just here's the one option. You're right, and then
yeah. So it's literally just like feeling around in the dark. I have all the riddles here. The first one is a hollow flame, which turns out to be a unlit candle. The second like clue is a south-facing student, which if you check your compass in one of the rooms, there's an untouched desk which is facing south. The third one is the broken neck of something, which turns out to be a destroyed planter. And then I think they talk about like some door. I didn't actually write this down, but
some
that's where you go for the
unlocked
final
door, whatever. Essentially, you go through
and
this thing,
somehow
and
you're
then
cursed.
secret staircase opens up, and it's a dungeon. Woohoo!
And they don't at all explain. So first off, when you go into the room, there's a dragon statue, which is cool because I remember in the podcast in the first chapter, I was like, "There's something to do with the schoolhouse. We're gonna come back to here because there's a dragon." And why the fuck is there a dragon statue here? And you're like, nah. So I'd like to say, Alex once again predicted something.
Well, like I figured that this was going to be a dungeon eventually at some point. I didn't know about. I didn't really believe the dragon thing, but like apparently like the dragon thing's like an ancient thing.
Yeah,
But,
apparently
like, they
there's
don't-
just dragons at some point in Liberal, and this was like a particularly famous dragon. So we don't know. Like we had a talk on this. We don't know if that means that it's like a mythos kind of thing, where like dragons used to exist for real in the same way we do in real life, or if the dragon was like an actual figure that just existed in Liberal way back in like the Middle Ages or whatever. But it's apparently a historical dragon.
Like monsters exist, so like probably dragons.
Yeah, it's
exist.
like, yeah, it's like I guess. I don't know how Agate figured it out, but Shara literally just like pokes at the dragon and magically figures out that it's a hidden thing. They don't explain it at all.
I don't remember. This is the point where I just kind of stopped taking notes.
Yeah, same here. I skipped all the notes except for the last part of the dungeon. Because at this point on, it's effectively walk into the dungeon. Dorothy, you're not allowed to come along because you get ambushed by a creature. The creature's weird and never explained again. Basically, the whole dungeon is like, oh, it's been sealed up for generations, so this place is evil and scary. And there's like a weird like tentacle feather monster that appears that you have to beat back.
And
it
also
like whoops your ass.
it's also annoying to fight. It's just like it's
one of
the
those
same thing
infinite
with the
heal creatures.
penguins, same thing with the Jaegers. It's just like we heal
Yeah. He almost wiped out my party just off of healing.
because he has absorb, which is annoying.
Yeah.
It's
So it's
annoying
like,
than
do
just regular
damage.
hit. Yeah, he does damage
Yeah,
while
it's-
getting stuff.
It gets
And, like, he
100% of it
like,
back.
it's like
He hits like a truck. It's like 1,300.
yeah, this is like the weirdest difficulty spike I've seen.
Yeah.
But like
But I
I
think
dealt
the
with
point
it.
was they were trying to go like, oh, this is scary now. Like this is like the big spooky. Which is like fine.
Like I did almost like all of like this, all the stuff, and it was like still a struggle. So it's like I'm glad that problem's still there.
Yeah, I
The
funnily
second
enough
time
didn't have an issue because I
the
ground.
the second time you fight this guy, it becomes a lot more manageable because he. Well.
Well, you say
well,
that, but he also
but then
spawns the things that when
yeah,
you kill it make him stronger and
gets
faster.
death throws. Yeah, basically the mini bosses in this dungeon have like characters that have death throws because in like the previous chapter 2, those beast monsters have them, and you also fight those as
the
like
big dog
optional
things.
optional creatures as an optional fight in this chapter. But like when they die, they like just
Twice.
buff up strength and defense. So like Chloe's
Strength
pretty
and
good
speed.
to deal with that stuff just to get like a speed and like defense down with Sieg.
And I had Saint at this point, which is a spell that happens if you have one of every single Orbital on Olivier, because I just dumped him with whatever I couldn't put on anybody else. And it was surprisingly useful because Olivier doesn't do much damage in the first place.
Yeah,
It gives you
that's a
plus
buff.
25% strength and plus 25% defense. And Estelle in this game for some reason has become like my main front line compared to the previous games where she was basically a healer for me. So I actually had a fairly balanced party at this point. I had basically super damage tanky Estelle. I had tanky and damage Shara. I had healer Chloe, and then I had buffer and AoE Olivier. And at the second mini boss, I had just beaten the chest, and the chest spawns a bunch of these dog things that increase strength and speed with the death throw, and there's like 10 of them.
Oh yeah,
and
there's
after
there's
that-
like 2 to 3
There's
chests
two
that
separate chests that just spawn 12 death throws people.
luckily they're very easy to kill. They're
Yeah,
they're not that bad.
But the point is like it's just annoying enough where like it reduces your EP and your health, and so you walk 10 feet, and then there's a mini boss, and then it's just like so now you're weakened, and then the mini boss comes in and has more of those stupid dog things, and then he himself has the absorb thing, and so the first part of the fight for me was just like okay, get my EP back, and then the second part of the fight was now I got to heal up, and the third part of the fight was balancing: do I kill the dogs or do I just let them do like 100 damage to Shara?
Oh,
while
my
everybody else loads up
strategy
on
for
Dude Man?
like all the fights with all the death throws is get those guys out immediately, because if they buff them, they can't buff them anymore. I think this game only has like one buff stat. Like it can only be like, oh yeah, 25% increase, but it can never go beyond that, because like you can
killed-
immediately like downstage like any of those.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like just like an on-off switch. It doesn't do it gradually. So like buffs and debuffs in this game kind of suck.
You say that, but buffing Estelle was the thing that got me.
Oh, like no, it does do more damage, but like in terms of
because like comparatively to the amount of damage that you would have otherwise done, like for me,
but in a sense, it's not like a death sentence when like if an enemy like buffs up like 3 times to get like 100% more damage. It's like they can't like buff up any more, so it's not like really powerful. It's just like an option.
yeah. And so my strategy coming into this fight was kill as many of them at the same time as possible, and then once they're all done, it would buff the one dude a bunch for effectively one buff, and then that would be it. And then I just outlev him basically at that point. But one
Yeah,
of them
my
survived,
part-
so I was
my-
dealing with one dog and him, which is fine, but like it was annoying. And so after a point,
Yeah,
I eventually
surprisingly,
killed the dog and
that
just said,
fight was
"Fuck it."
easier for me than the first one. Don't know why. I think I just knew how to
I-
deal with him. Also, all
No,
my
I
characters.
know what happened. I equipped a sapphire on Chloe, and
Oh,
he has 100% resistance to water.
No, he has 50% resistance, and that's why.
No, he has 100% resistance to water. Water does 0 damage to him. It does explicitly 0 damage to him. I know for an absolute fact because
it
I could
fire?
not do any damage. It's 0.
Oh yes, it's 0. Yeah, I'm thinking
Yeah.
wind.
Fire was half. No, fire was half. Wind was 150, and earth was 150.
Yes. Because a similar thing with Estelle, because I had that thing equipped to Estelle, and also all my party members. I didn't really have like assigned roles. Agate was like damage dealer / kind of like AOE guy with fire thing, and then all my other characters just kind of like had like a tier 3 water heal, so like I could easily like heal off everything. But after the end of the chapter, I made one character role, which was just healer and ice. But
Yeah, mine was purely accidental.
Yeah.
I was just like, you use green, so I'll just put all the green on you. You use blue, so I'll put all the blue on you. Estelle, you're the only one I actually care about, so I'll actually put more time into thinking about yours. But yeah, I ended that fight with one person alive. And it was all
Nice.
good.
That was a lot of my fights last game.
Yeah. So I eventually, luckily, there's a healing spot you can go back to at the start.
I'm
and just
so
run
glad
from
that
every
they
fight,
have
so-
those this game, because oh
Yeah,
my
right.
god.
Otherwise, you'd have to walk all the way back if you're.
I don't think
allowed
you
to.
could. I don't think you
Yeah,
could leave.
That's why I said if you're allowed to, because I don't know. But eventually you get to the end of this stupid frickin' dungeon. We get to the end of the dungeon and confront a blue-haired corporeal individual who has strikingly similar features to the ghost. As expected, it's Enforcer number 10, the Phantom Thief. Called it. So he's there. He's at the end. He's by a bunch of rocks. And he's like, hey,
Oh, right. And also, there's a big, huge image of him that appears, which is neat. I like the idea that all the enforcers are going to get some super dramatic
Oh
pose.
yeah, like get some cut-ins.
Yeah. And behind him is a bunch of stone relics. Then, upon one middle central stone relic lies a large black orbament that has a striking similarity to the gospel. And it turns out
it is literally just the gospel, same gospel.
it's not just the gospel. It's not the same gospel. It's a bigger gospel because they manufactured it from one of the 13 factories, which is something that's brought up later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
which-
Lawrence comes back, or Lawrence question mark comes back to grab it. So I thought it was the
Yeah.
same gospel.
Yeah, no, that's the reason that, well, I'll get into that. So it turns out this whole, well, actually, first he says, I was here all along, because it's the Phantom Thief. And indeed he was in the first chapter in Rouen. You have 2 separate quests involving the Phantom Thief. One of them is in Rouen. The other one's in Zeiss, I think. And he shows off his like copycat ability, basically. He can like disguise as anybody, like super effectively. He does it as a warehouse worker. The warehouse worker boss specifically. And then later it's revealed he actually does this as, I don't know if
It's
I wrote
like
down
one-
his name, but it's
just
the guy who was like, hey, they're in the middle of a meeting, you're gonna have to wait.
it's just some dude.
Yeah, it's just a random NPC. So it's like, it was me all along. And you're
He's
like,
like,
okay.
Is this impressive? I mean, like, that's, I guess, fun.
Well, you sure did look bald there, sir. Good job. And then he says something along the lines of like, a phantom thief is a worshiper of beauty. And the reason that he was after us was because he has fallen in love with Chloe. Not because she's hot or anything, or because he's like attracted to her from like a personality perspective, in a sense, but because instead she's prideful, apparently. So the act of wanting to solve the problem with the mayorship issue in the previous game somehow indicated to him that she was prideful because she had aspirations and wanted to pursue them. And to him, he characterizes this as the notion of true beauty. This dude is off the rocker.
Yes. You can
So this whole thing, everything about this, the whole plan was to do with him simping over Chloe.
and to make shadow clones for testing or whatever.
Yeah, so the gospel, what it does now, I guess, is it has the ability to turn the technology that they already have, which is effectively projectors, so they can create things that look like other things, and that's it. And he just happened to make himself. And the only thing that the gospel does is make it go farther.
So it can either enhance or dehance, I guess, ornaments.
Yeah, we're not sure if it's all orbaments, though, or if it's just the projector yet. It could be all orbaments, and that does make some sense. In fact, I'm going to follow that line, too, because I think that makes sense. Especially if it's like a redirection thing. It's at this point that he basically says, oh, I'm not going to fight you. That would be silly. No, he's going to fight you. And he opens a giant door to a fucking robot centaur with 2 spinning swords.
Yeah, no, this
fully
is sick.
3D animated.
Well, it's not even, fucking robot centaur mech. It is as big as like the previous mech and has like a similar entrance. And it's the whole room is very like similar to the one in Underground Grand Seal. So like there has to be a lot more.
There?
There's probably like a lot more of these types of things where like there's a lot of like more like robots sentinels, because I don't know if this was also, I think this was also another ring guardian or something like that.
I don't know. They never really explained it. In fact, we don't even know why he's in that area to begin with, and why there's a specific gospel slot. Because it's just in a relic.
Well, because like the gospel thing also activated the other thing, but like this one didn't have like any like robot noises or whatever, like activation. It's just kind of like, here's this thing. I have to assume it's like part of this series of protectors.
Yeah, it must be.
But it's revealed that apparently it was in complete destruction. Like, it was just dead on the floor. And somehow magically this dude repaired it himself. And somehow magically this thing has loyalty to him.
Listen,
so I guess the
he has a
explanation for the
magic man
first game
on
of
his
how
side.
the hell... Yeah, well, I mean, like, I remember us going like, well, in the first game, how the hell did they actually manage to get these robots on their side? We got the answer. Fucking bullshit. That's what. And so you kill him. And he kind of panics and is like, and he uses magic to make the candles burn brighter, which extends the party's shadows. And then he throws knives on the shadows and freezes everybody in place. And then Sieg comes
Shadow
in.
Ninjutsu.
Yeah, and then Sieg comes in and he does it to the fucking bird. And it's just suspended in midair, like half flap. And it's just there. So it doesn't
good.
pin you to the ground. It just like pins you in space.
Stasis.
Which is absurd. And it doesn't pin you, just like, I guess, where you can stand. Because he then walks directly up to Chloe and simps over her for like 20 minutes of dialogue. And then Olivier, he's like, heh, but what is beauty? And the dude's like, oh, you simpleton, you buffoon. You should know this already. If you claim to be a true purveyor of beauty, it's pride. Pride is beauty. And he's like, no, beauty is love.
Love and peace, baby.
Love and peace, baby. He's like, beauty is love. It's the truest expression of beauty. And as a searcher of beauty, I am ashamed that you do not yet know this. And fucking the Phantom Thief's like, heh, you know more than you let on. Bard.
It's
Like,
like
have like a
it's like
bonding moment.
it's fucking like two himbos finding each other. Star-crossed lovers in idiocy.
They're soulmates of just a different kind of soul.
Like this Blanc character,
Yeah, blue.
Bluey, just gives off the most himbo design imaginable.
Oh, for sure.
Especially with the mask, the long hair.
Yeah. Later on, I'm gonna mention this now because it's funny. Later on, he's talking to Lawrence, and
Or
Lawrence is
Lawrence
like,
question
"So,
mark?
yeah, sorry, Lawrence question mark." And Lawrence question mark is like, "So, what do you think?" And Blue just has like a giant smile on his face, and he's basically like, "I really like Olivier." He's good.
I've made a lifelong rival today.
In translation, rival means friend in this context. This dude is just like, yes, another one.
Someone understands me.
It's great. I love this whole thing. I hope Blue somehow becomes like a good guy by the end of this, and we just get him for the rest of the Trail series. And I want him to be with Olivier.
Out of
in
all the
same room.
enforcers, except Joshua, he's like the most likely to swap.
Yeah, I love Blue. He's so good. And then Dorothy comes in because she got bored, I guess.
Somehow
and she's
got
like, "Oh my
here
god, look!"
through all the monsters.
Yeah, somehow.
She doesn't even have fucking Wiseman's like excuse of like controlling her shit
Yeah, she's just built different, man. I don't know.
or dumb. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just like, don't touch that girl. You'll catch something from her. So she comes in and she's just like, oh, look, a Phantom Thief, and takes a picture. I don't even think she says Phantom Thief. She's just like, look, that guy looks funny, and takes a picture.
Yeah.
And the flash from her photograph screws with the shadows and frees everybody.
It's because like for an instant the shadows disappear due
Yeah.
to the flash.
Yeah. And so they're not pinned down anymore. And the dude's like, oh no. And so he leaps away from Chloe and he's like, blah, 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 blah. Until next time. And then
Fare thee
literally
well.
just vanishes. Just phases out with the gospel too. And that's basically it. That's the whole instance here. You teleport out, you go back to the guild. And John is basically like, yeah, I'm glad that you investigated this because that was important. And they're like, yeah, we found the Phantom Thief dude, Enforcer number 10. He's part of the Society of Ouroboros. And he's like, I didn't even know the Society of Ouroboros existed. I just thought it was a myth. Even when I was told by these people that it existed, I just couldn't believe it. But I guess, yeah, this must be really important. Luckily, everything's done here, so now you should probably go somewhere else because we have no other quest for you, and also things are probably going to settle down now that you've solved it here. And so we're like, okay, well, where should we go next? And they're like, well, we don't really have anybody requesting anything specific to the society, but there have been a bunch of issues and grumblings happening in Zeiss. To which I responded by ecstatically fist pumping, "'Cause Tina, we're gonna get the little sister. Yes."
Going
so
back
we're going
to the
Zeiss.
place you love.
Yeah, I'm gonna meet my little sister again. It's great. So after all of this, we're talking about getting to Zeiss, and Olivier, of all fucking people, is like, "Jean, my man, 2 tickets. 4 tickets, rather." And Estelle's like, "Yeah, we're gonna... Wait a minute. Why are you telling Jean what to do? Let me guess, you want to come?" And he's like, "Naturally, I have to see Joshua." Ah, now that's interesting. Why does he want to see Joshua? And he makes it explicit. He lets this slip. Now, Shara, in this case, says nothing. But I'm curious as to why he cares.
Because he had a reason that he wanted to investigate Cassius. We still don't know why he wanted that. So I wonder if if a bigger part of it was Ouroboros, maybe.
Maybe. I'm not convinced Olivier is as much of an idiot as he lets on.
Maybe he's like a secret agent from the Bracers Guild from Imbrodium. That could be a thing. That could be an interesting thing. Because he's weirdly invested in the Bracer Guild stuff.
Yeah. Way more than even the government.
Yeah. Because because it doesn't seem like he's a part of the military.
And I'd like to point out, this is when Shara says, "Just one thing before we go. Do you know where Cassius is?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course I do."
And I think Aga has something similar or something. I don't. It's not as specific.
But we've already gotten confirmation that Shara already thinks something's up. And she's like, "I know I'm not going to get any more information out of you than that, so I'm willing to let you go with us now." And I guess the mentality is you could view that as one of two things. Either he knows where Cassius is, so therefore that's complete and he can move on. Or Cassius isn't part of the Bracers Guild, he's part of the military, therefore he doesn't care anymore.
Yeah, there's a few... I'm interested what his old sitch is.
Yeah, because I'm not convinced he's as much of an idiot as he lets on. I think it's mainly a personality thing. I don't think he's stupid.
I think we described him as an idiot savant at one point.
Yeah. He doesn't strike me as dumb, just a person who's putting on a personality that's more exaggerated than his.
He pieced together, the whole, situation with the ghost of, locating where the ghost was. He led on that whole thing.
Yeah, in 1 second,
when he came back. Because, he immediately got all that information, and it's oh, I know this instantly.
Mm-hmm.
It's the connecting tissue.
Mm-hmm. So I'm convinced something's up with him. And I think this is the capstone to that so far.
I mean, there has always been something up with him ever since chapter 1.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I mean, more and more specifically over time. Because beforehand, I couldn't get a read on what the hell he wanted. But now I'm starting to get an idea, and I do think it's Ouroboros or it's the Bracers Guild. Because if the fact he's especially looking for Joshua, why Joshua? And then why Estelle originally? Probably to get to Joshua, right?
Either that or
because he said he heard about the situation with Joshua from Shara regarding Estelle, so he went to go to Estelle. And he was in Elmo before that. Where's Elmo? It's way
that's
east,
in Zeiss.
isn't it?
It's in Zeiss.
Yeah, so he went from Zeiss all the way to Rouen just to meet up with Estelle, just to go back to Zeiss. He's looking for Joshua, but there's a reason, and I think it's Ouroboros.
Probably.
So,
because
which is curious to me if it's to do with either, because you could either view it as he's part of the Urbonian embassy. So does that mean Bracers Guild or government? Because if it's part of the government, that means the government in Urbonia knows about the Ouroboros Society, or is at least investigating it. Why does the Urbonian Empire care about Ouroboros? Do they care about Ouroboros, Or do they care about the technology that Ouroboros has? Why would they care about the technology that Ouroboros has? If that's the case, why would they care about Ouroboros otherwise? If it's just Ouroboros, you might assume like, hey, they're concerned about a threat. But if it's about the technology, they may be viewing that as we can get a leg up on Liberl and invade them again. And we know that eventually a war is going to happen with Urbonia because it's in the future games. So I'm curious if Olivier is actually a bad man.
I don't know if it's in the future games. I'm pretty confident. The trailer for the second game essentially hints towards a war. I don't know with who. Seems like Ambrodia.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the Calvard Republic with how it was stated beforehand. We'll see, though.
We'll see.
But yeah, I'm curious if he's basically... I'm curious if Olivier is effectively the bad guy for a future game. Or at least like a catalyst to a bad guy. But we'll see. And yeah, that's where the chapter ends.
That's the chapter end.
And then it begins the next thing.
But before that, I got my own little thing.
Sure.
You know what time it is?
Adventure time?
It's numbers time. It's Arcana time.
Oh.
Woo. Fucking Blanc is number 10, which is the Fortune Arcana, or Wheel of Fortune Arcana, which is very funny because so far all of these like Arcana things are very like on the nose stuff. And like I looked up some stuff and it was like maybe it's just like that like factors are outside of your control are influencing your situation, or it's like you're you're really cherishing like the blissful moments of life and seeing like where those kind of like stuff takes you, and like kind of like the reverse side is like your luck/fortune may turn for the worst, or it's like a resistance to change to go along the wind. And kind of
do you know the English mythology perspective on what the Wheel of Fortune actually is? Because it's not even necessarily a pagan tradition.
No.
So the Wheel of Fortune, the whole idea behind it was effectively for every single good time, there's an equal bad time that must occur. Mm-hmm. So that's the wheel. It's like I think it's the devil or something. He's pumping the wheel along. So every single time you have good fortune, which is a raise on the wheel, in order to have good fortune again, something bad must occur. And so the Wheel of Fortune is just this ideology of like whatever comes will come.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like the idea of like leaving fate to the universe in like in the hands of like God or whatever. And it's like I can see him being kind of like someone who's really like kind of like freeform, kind of like I'll take it out how it is. I'll do like these like fun little puzzles. He's kind of like a trickster in a way. So
yeah, I can. It might also be actually a showcasing of the idea that he's going to turn as well. If we're leaning into that, because he's a bad guy, he'll become a good guy. Then just as easily he'll be a bad guy. Maybe he's like Catwoman, whatever they're called.
Like an anti-hero?
An anti-hero, yeah. He might be one of those in the future.
Maybe. Who knows? That's it. I more surface level than the other two, but like this also I now want to do some number predictions because of how literal a lot of these have been so far. Because it's like, oh, here's a phantom thief. Let's give him the Wheel of Fortune because it deals with fortune. So I looked back and was like, which ones kind of like go with which? And there's some that are a lot harder for me to like determine, but like first one is the Angel of Slaughter. And I think
that seems very clearly Wiseman.
No, Wiseman is called. It's literally the Grandmaster. He already has one. He's like Grandmaster or like the Magician or something like that. I think it's literally Grandmaster is his title.
Wasn't Lawrence called the Angel of Slaughter?
No. I'll get to him.
Right.
Because Angel of Slaughter we don't know who that is yet, but I'm going to guess number 8, which is the Justice Arcana. And because the only thing I can go for is angels, and angels are like associated with like justice and righteousness. So like that could be like a fun kind of like play on like, because like it's basically like an angel of death. So like maybe it's like some like conviction or whatnot. That's like my strongest like, most likely if we find Angel of Slaughter like maybe next chapter or some other chapter, it'll probably be like number 8 or something. And then we got Mr. Blade Lord himself, Louis slash Lawrence
Jesus.
question mark.
I don't know why they keep calling him Lawrence question mark.
I
They've
don't.
said his name's Louis.
I'm gonna get into that when we get into that scene. But I'm gonna guess he's 12 because I assume he joined like similar time as like Joshua, like slightly before. So maybe he was like 12, 13. So like I'll guess 12 for this instance, which is like the Hanged Man, which I didn't read too much into, but could be interesting if that's the case. Then the next one was Bewitching Bell, and this one like threw me for a loop. It's like Bewitching Bell, maybe like it's Enchanting Bell, like maybe
That
like
could be the girl.
oh, it's most likely a girl. So I went with number 6, The Lovers. That's what I went with number 6, The Lovers, because like
Because it could be that they're like not puppets, but they're like, I guess, bewitched.
yeah, I think I was going on the similar lines of like that, like enchanting esque. And then the final one is the dire wolf, and it was like I've heard of the dire wolf before, so like a few times I've looked it up, and it's kind of like an extinct like wolf that like is said to be like stronger than like an average wolf, had like more muscles and whatnot. But then I read like something online, it's like oh, they weren't really different. It was kind of like stuff. So it's like the best
They
one
were
I can
more singular, I think. Like they didn't
Yeah.
travel in giant packs.
because like in fantasy fantasy kind of like took the idea of direwolf, and then it's like we're going to just make this
Big
into
wolf.
a monster, essentially big
Yeah.
monster, big monster. So like I'm between 2 on this one, either number 7, the Chariot, or the numbers 11, Strength. Chariot is kind of amplifies as like outer strength, kind of like physical strength, while like the Strength Arcana focus more on like the inner strength of like a person. So like most likely number 7, Chariot, if we're going for like I don't know, strong man. I don't know. That is my best surmise of like the most vaguest thing with all these. I think I'm most confident with the Angel of Slaughter, but you know, could be wrong.
I really like the lover.
The lover one was kind of like a shot in the dark because like bewitching is like intrigued or like enhanced, and it's like that's the best idea I could come up with.
Honestly,
And
the
I'll-
Wheel of Fortune and the lover were actually kind of interesting. I take it back, Brandon. Numbers is fun.
Yeah, I only thought about this because like they immediately showed off the Fan Thief, and there was like 10 fortune. I was like, okay, we'll see what I'll guess the rest of like what they listed out. Thought that'd be fun. See which I get right and wrong. I don't even know if they're gonna go with like major 13. There could be like the 20 plus, but I doubt there's gonna be that many characters in the organization. I think
Or if
Joshua
it
has
like
to be the last one.
expands or shrinks or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm just assuming the 13 major arcana or 12 or whatever it is.
Well, so they have like the 13 factories, and like 13 is technically an unlucky number in
yeah,
Catholic.
so it's most likely 13.
Yeah, 13 seems just like it's
And like
gonna be
Joshua
where it
seems
is.
like the last member that joined because he was only there for like 2 years and then left. But there could be new people, but like
Yeah, I was about to say
I
it
don't-
could be like you get replaced, like the 13
like
Black
he's
Fang
still
might get replaced with a different 13 Black Fang.
true. Like they're like revolving roles. So like if you match
Yeah.
like whatever like specific role or arcana that like Wiseman surmises that you are.
Yeah, well, also it's important to mention we haven't actually gotten to this section yet, and I'm not sure. Did we say that we were going to go over the first part of each chapter?
Yep.
All right, cool.
Was about to get
I might
into
hold on
that.
to it then because they mention something in this next scene that kind of brings up this notion of like the reason they're powerful isn't because they're inherently powerful, but because they've been gifted in some way.
Yeah,
Either from
let's get
Wiseman
into
or something
the
else.
post-credit scene because I feel like that
Okay.
leads well.
Okay, well then we begin this chapter with a very moody view of the harbor. Blue Blanc stands atop the top of the warehouse looking down upon the port. And of course he's monologuing. Stage right, enter Lawrence. And he basically, or sorry, Lawrence question mark.
Oh yeah, this thing. Lauren. Okay, so this threw me for a loop. I was like, okay, is there two people? Is there a Loey and a Lawrence? And
Yeah, that's what I'm starting to think too.
No. But I went back and checked the footage because it was like, is their hair different? Because like his hair looks a lot more silver in this game. And I looked back and was like, it's basic. It's the same guy. I was really convinced in this like two Lawrence theory. It might still be a thing. I don't know, but like I was like, maybe they're different hairstyles. Maybe like one's Lawrence and then there's Louis. It's like that's probably not it, but like I had that thought and I double checked and it's probably not right. But like I don't know why they would do Lawrence question mark and just not Louis.
Yeah, I feel like them saying Louis
It would make
was an
more sense if
accident
Lawrence
earlier.
question mark was like his name for the entire thing. You know?
Yeah, I feel like they made a mistake in saying Louis, or it's like that scene was meant to be played
it's the same
later
thing
in the
like
earlier
PSP
draft of the
version.
game.
Same thing in the PSP thing.
Well,
so like
what I'm saying is like I feel like maybe originally the script was like the scene with Louis and Wiseman and fucking Chuckles or whatever his name is
happened
was meant to happen like later,
later.
but they just moved it to the front because they felt like it made more sense, but they didn't change his name because it just conflicted. Like maybe why would Wiseman ever call him Lawrence because he knows his real name, right?
Well, he never.
And
They
why
never
would he
said.
also say
They
like
never said his
number
name was Louis.
12 or whatever?
They never said his name was Louis. The only time they
No,
referred
but
to him
Wiseman
as Mr.
addresses him as Louis.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, Wiseman addresses him as Louis.
Okay.
So it's just like, where the fuck did that come from?
Also, I
right?
don't know why the name changed. It's just a weird. Why are you just not Lawrence?
Yeah.
We'll probably get an answer for it.
Well, I'll tell you why. It's because Lawrence is not exactly a threatening name.
Is Louis a threatening name?
It's more threatening than Lawrence. Like,
But no, it's
Lawrence
like
is an
"Hey,
accountant
Louis."
in his 40s.
Hey,
Louis is at
Louis.
least like a
Louis
English
is like
gangster.
Louis is like in New Jersey.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, he's from Jersey.
Hey, Louis.
What are you doing over here? Come on over
Yeah.
here.
Come on over here, Louis. Louis, my little brother Louis. Yeah. But yeah, so he's here on the harbor, and him and Blue are kind of like, apparently they're actually decent friends. And Louis seems to kind of be this way in general, unlike Wiseman, because Wiseman's very much like, welcome to the organization. And like looking at the camera and all that kind of junk. Louis just kind of seems to be pretty chummy with everybody. Like he was giggly with Chuckles. I keep forgetting his name.
Campelli? Or
Is it Campelli? Campanelli?
Campanella.
Campanella, that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It
So
takes a
he was
few- it
pretty
takes a
chummy
few
with
tries.
Campanella. And then with Blue, he's almost like friends with Blue. Like straight up like, oh, my old friend kind of a deal without saying anything.
Maybe like sarcastically. Who knows?
Maybe, I don't know. I kind of got the vibe of like they like each other. Cuz I mean
I
like
have the vibe that
he
Louis
like
doesn't
read
like
like
anybody.
Blue didn't even say like I like them. He was just like rambled off a little bit. And Louis is just like, you like them, don't you? With like a smile. So I'm like, okay, yeah, these two like each other at least a bit. Like maybe there's like camaraderie in the organization or whatever. And again, that kind of like leads me to think like, okay, if anybody's going to leave the organization, it's Joshua, Louis, and Blue. Like they just seem to be the least like affiliated with like mwahaha evil kind of a deal.
Well, I mean, Louis kind of did the whole, like, assisted in the coup thing. So, like,
Yeah,
I
but
don't
Louis
know.
left the Queen Bee. Louis was just kind of like, yeah, fuck it. I've held
Well,
you
they
off. I
may
don't need
also
to kill
not
you.
want to
I'm just gonna
disturb,
go.
like, the order too much, you know? Because if they
Yeah,
disturb
but
it
I'm just
too
thinking,
much,
like-
then, like, things might be more complicated for them.
Yeah, but put Campanella in the same situation as Louis, he easily would have slaughtered everybody there, and Wiseman would probably been like, yeah, whatever, we'll deal with it. Right? Like, my point is that I don't think Louis is as heavily affiliated, just because I think he's affiliated with Joshua. And I think that implication means whoever he's chummy with assumes that they're also not so heavily affiliated. And considering Blue is already very interpersonally motivated, like internally motivated rather, and not only is he internally motivated, he gives up all of the information about like everything about the organization just for the fuck of it. Like they asked him a bunch of questions. He's like, oh yeah, this is what's happening. Like Blue doesn't give a fuck, like, right? And with Louis being closely related to Joshua, I can't help but think like, okay, if anybody's going to break away or at least like be anti-hero, kind of like help the party without technically helping them, it's going to be them. And they already kind of did. Like Louis, remember, he tried to teach Agate how to be a man or whatever, right? Like he didn't have to do that. And it could be to get into his head.
I think it was
But
to
there's
get
that
into his
part
head.
where it's like, yeah, but there's that part too, like where he could be genuinely trying to help Agate. Even if it's in a negative way. Because that's the definition of an anti-hero. They do things for selfish reasons that just so happen to also assist in some manner. Or they do good things they do good things for bad reasons, right?
They do bad things for good reasons, you mean?
No, it's they do good things for bad reasons. Like Catwoman might save Gotham, but it's just because she has shit she wants to grab from Gotham or she has nowhere else to go, right? Whereas Batman wants to save Gotham because it's his home or whatever, right?
But wouldn't that be like they're doing bad things for good reasons, not the opposite?
No, bad things for good reasons is like Poison Ivy, which I guess could be an anti-hero, but she's still willing to genocide an entire city just because she wants plants to rule, right?
Okay, yeah.
Whereas
I can
Catwoman's
see
like,
it,
I'll
yeah.
still save the city, right? That
I'll
kind
save
of
the
deal. Yeah.
city, but for my own, reasons.
Yeah, and so if Louis is kind of like, I'm gonna stage a coup or assist in staging a coup because I have something that I want to get out of this, right? That to him is a good thing. Like the end effect of the whole thing could have just been like, hey, remember that city you wiped off the map? Yeah, it's gonna come back to bite you, right? Like, in that sense, it's kind of like a justified revenge without actually being explicitly like, I'm going to murder the queen. It could just be like, hey, you fucked up and you need to acknowledge that, right? So I think it's neat. And then Blue, during his giggle fit, mentions that he got the Black Gospel among a bunch of other things from the 13 factories. But the 13 factories isn't really explained much. So in my head, 13 factories may not be factories necessarily, because they're apparently ancient relic creators of some sort. So considering we already have robots and sheds effectively everywhere, I'm curious if the factories are ruins where you get explicit material or like explicit technology, right? So maybe they didn't have a factory that they made that manufactured the Black Gospel version 2, but maybe there's like an old rundown kind of ancient ruin that has the capability to produce these things and they're just kind of hijacking it for their own purposes. And in the process of doing so, they got 13 artifacts or something that established power over people. Like, we already saw the mayor had like a mind wiping. No, the mayor had like a freezing time staff or whatever that was just inherited from him. Yeah. And we see the gospel has the ability to do wild stuff that nobody talks about, or that everybody was talking about, rather. And then we also see Lawrence has ridiculous power, but the only thing that's really exceptional about him is his sword, because that's the only thing that doesn't change in his outfit, from him being the mercenary to him being in the thing. So I'm curious about that. And then the Phantom Thief, in the discussion, explicitly is called out his mask. So that might be its own artifact, but it could also be the staff he's using, right? Because that's how he does maybe Shadow Jutsu. With the little girl, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being a gem or something. And so on and so on. So I'm curious if these 13 factories were the way that these people were created.
Do you
and
think
that
the girl is the
organization of
Bewitching Belle?
13. I'm convinced, yeah. Why are you not?
Oh, no, I just put that thought out there. I was just like, maybe that could be it.
Yeah,
Prediction.
100%.
It's gonna be wrong, but, you know,
No, you're right. I guarantee it.
you can somehow
then-
will things into existence. So
What, me?
yes,
I've just played too much of this bullshit game. But during that whole conversation, finally at the very end of it, somehow Lawrence just like magically,
It's his
there's somebody
spidey,
here.
It's his spidey senses.
Yeah, which also makes me curious if that's his ability. And I thought that the person he sensed was Joshua. And this was the second
I don't know
instance where
why
I was like, this might be
Joshua would be
Joshua.
here.
Because my thought process was maybe he's going to try and kill all the members of Organization 13.
Okay.
Right?
Reasonable.
Because it's like he's gonna, because remember, in my opinion, Joshua right now is going through like a PTSD episode where it's like he wants to feel safe and he wants the people around him to feel safe, and he thinks he's a monster because of these abilities that he has. So in my head, it makes the most sense that he would use his abilities to make himself safe, ergo require killing every single member because he's a monster, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, well, he's hunting them down. And they're just about to whoop the ass of whoever is there. And then they get interrupted by some ravens, the three boys.
Yeah, three
who are
boys that are drunk.
Yeah. And
A night
they're
on
like,
the
okay,
town
well, we
with
don't
the
want to cause a
boys."
ruckus. Hell yeah. And so Blue and Louis are like, we don't want to cause a ruckus because that's going to cause some issues. So we're just going to leave. You're lucky whoever was there. And so they hop off into like the distance, I guess. I don't know if they can fly. Like, I know the Phantom Thief probably can, Blue, but I don't know about Louis.
I mean, he jumped off a building, and he's fine.
Yeah. So I
Like
don't know
he
what's
like
going
he
on.
basically flash stepped his way into the scene.
Yeah. Now, the interesting part about all of this is it's revealed that Kevin is there. This is the second chapter in
In
which
a
we
row.
both started with something relating to Kevin and ended with something relating to Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
Even if Kevin isn't the main character, he's being built up as like, this is the like
This is an
B
important
plot
character.
that's gonna turn into like something big.
Yeah, because like he's investigating the whole thing right now.
And not only is he investigating, he's severely underpowered compared to these guys. Like, this isn't a situation where he's like, yeah, I could have taken them on. He's just straight up like, thank Eidos that those guys were there because I was fucked. Like, I was toast. So it's just curious to me, like, the Vatican obviously knows about Ouroboros, right? I mean, they would. They're the Vatican. So,
If not, they know now.
yeah, definitely. And fucking everything about them, because Blue and Lawrence can't keep their mouth shut. So it's like, what does he want from them? So we know that he's pursuing
I
the
don't know,
ring, I
peace?
guess?
Like, yeah, he's kind of like investigating like what the ring is. I guess.
I'm curious if the Vatican's prerogative right now is to take the ring. Because I'm pretty convinced that the Vatican is something like the Brotherhood of Steel, where they're like, humanity isn't ready, or I guess Septianism or whatever, the Septians aren't ready for this technology, a gift given too soon, so we must hoard it. And then that ends up becoming, we have the power, and that makes us feel good, so we're going to continue hoarding it. So it's like very strict, only so and such people get the technology kind of a deal. Kind of like a corrupt organization shtick. Or it could even just be like full-blown Catholicism, like really holy man, like, no, I'm doing this for good reasons kind of a deal. But I'm curious if we're going to get to the point where like we're seeing Kevin basically go through the motions of getting there. I'm curious if we're going to eventually, because I know that the third game involves Kevin. I don't know if we play as Kevin, but he's on the box art.
We most likely do.
Maybe, yeah. And the sister, who God knows who she is. So it seems like a two-person party kind of deal.
It won't be a
but-
two-person party, but it'll probably be more like the first game, I assume.
I've heard they go 6 in the third game.
Like I know two of the characters that they roll with. Because I've seen art of them.
Yeah. And so it's like, I'm curious, what do you think Kevin's doing? Like,
Well, I
beyond
mean, he
just
was
being
sent
there?
out to like investigate stuff based from like whatever royal family he was saying beforehand, like the Kronos staff. Like there was like some agreement between the families. like arrangement or something like that from the previous end chapter thing. So I wonder if he's going because of like the royal family or because like the Vatican had something to do with like the that family to investigate it. Now he's like he's probably just like informant, gain more stuff.
Like the classical spy as opposed to Olivier,
Yeah. Well,
who's
not
more
even
like
like
the James Bondy kind of guy.
yeah, he's not even like a spy. He's just kind of like like a bracer in a sense, investigating the stuff from a different organization.
I could see that. But yeah, I think that's literally everything we've covered.
Yeah,
it.
that's basically the end of the chapter, and that's another chapter done in Rouen. Probably be my least favorite chapter overall, but you know, we'll see.
Which is interesting because I feel like I gained so much from this chapter.
I feel like it had a similar problem to chapter 2 again. I think it's just I don't like this area, but like I enjoy some like the Jeunesse for Academy stuff, kind of. But I didn't even have like that this time. Just kind of like had some nice like reminiscing moments, but like I feel like they introduced like this political like mayor stuff, which is like okay, I guess we're gonna get into that, but like we don't really, unless you count like side quests, which no,
I mean, it's post chapter content, so
it's post chapter content and whatnot, and it's like
at least it's somewhat canonical because you're not supposed to interact with politics as a bracer, right?
yeah, but it's like it feels like they kind of like set this. It's like a background thing, but it feels like
Should
feels
be
like
foreground.
we don't really. It feels like we just go to places and like do stuff. I don't know. I guess like I didn't enjoy like the way that they handled like this mystery. It's like go talk to these people, and then like here's this thing because I'm not a huge fan of like how they did Trails does its like mysteries and whatnot. I enjoyed like their plot twist, but like the mystery subplots and like this whole thing was a mystery thing, and it's like I like mystery, but like I feel like Trails doesn't really like do that well. I mean, it's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with it. It's just kind of
I think
there.
there's something wrong with it for sure. Like they don't actually give you the opportunity to solve it on your own. Things just kind of happen.
I mean, that's basically Trails. It just happens. It doesn't. You're on like a railroad essentially. Just kind of like
yeah, it's a
the
story being
amusement
told
park.
to you.
It's like it's like an amusement park in a sense, where you kind of go like by plot beat, and like it's fun, but like you know sometimes like we go to this place, then this place, instead of like I guess it gets like the mundanity of like what like a job like this would be, but like
If your video game is ever evoking images of like an office job equivalent of an adventurer life, I think you fucked up.
I mean they're basically comps, so like they basically just do more investigation stuff and whatnot, and I enjoy like detective s games, but like this is not a detective game. That's not its main thing, and that's fine. And yeah, and just thought overall pretty mid until we got like the whole basically till the end with when we gotta start talking with Fan Thief. I also enjoy that they previous game that they introduced the Fan Thief through like a side quest and then he's here. I was like, that's cool. That's a cool detail for people who are like interested in that type of stuff. It's like I'm not. So it's like, oh, this is like a neat fun fact, but also kind of like builds up, ooh, this person was part of that. I don't enjoy the thing of like, oh, this person was secretly this person that you didn't know.
Yeah, but that was
It would make more
clearly shoehorned in.
Those shoot her in. There's like no clue or anything. It would be more interesting if it was like, oh, this is like a character you're interacting with a lot. It's like, oh my god, you were this person? What? Instead of just some dude.
Yeah.
But like the whole point of that is just like he's been around, and like he can disguise himself. So like gets that off.
Yeah, I guess the intention is like he'll be there in the future. That's what I gathered from the whole shebang with him. Is like he'll be there, he'll be watching. At some point, he'll show up, and you'll just be like, "It's you!" And I guarantee you, Estelle, in every single scenario, will say something, but she'll say the same thing every time. Similar to, "You know my dad?" It'll just be like, "You're the Phantom Thief," or something like that.
Another thing, this dungeon straight line once again. I was like, God damn it! Didn't use any key item shit. Is basically just another straight line. I thought there was gonna be more. Best you got with key items was the photo thing, but you can ignore it as well. So it's like, at least it wasn't annoying, I guess.
So far, the best key item hasn't even been a key item. It's just been the night goggles. And that's just something you can equip. I want more of that.
I feel like
give
this
us
game
stuff that's
introduced a
required
lot
to
of
complete
interesting
stuff.
concepts that we haven't gotten to yet. And this was just kind of like just a flow chapter. Because like
this chapter
it
feels like a setup to basically everything.
Yeah, because like it doesn't feel like a lot was accomplished this chapter, except like kind of like
Just shit tons of lore and story setup, and that's it. We introduced like the second main character, or second main evil bad guy, I guess. We introduced probably another one of the 13. I wouldn't be surprised if that's literally who we end up fighting in Zeiss. We introduced the... Oh, we didn't really introduce that. We just got the other characters that we needed, Olivier and Chloe, and without both of them, there's really not a complete party. So we collected those two. We got to say hello to a bunch of old characters and just like see where they wound up, which I feel like would be something that developers wanted to accomplish anyway.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, so it's
just
like
in
we kind of
terms
just got
plot,
like...
it feels like Trails really goes hard and doesn't. Trails never has like a clean plot. It's always like a starter stop kind of like motion. It's either we're going like 2 miles an hour or like a million.
I don't know. I feel like Trails is like just extraordinarily slow to the point where when anything happens, it feels like a million things happened. Because like the only thing we did this chapter was set up. The only thing we did last chapter was set up.
Well, last chapter's setup was like justifiable. It was the beginning and had a lot of good setup, a lot of good plot hooks. And this kind of didn't really follow up on any of them besides we're investigating this town, which is all fine. And it was a similar problem I had with previous Ron, where it didn't feel like it brought much, but like overall it did. So like on its own, it was fine. But like I think I'm going to come out of this era of me not really like being Ron being my least favorite place to visit.
But I just want to like bring back real quick. So like in the previous game, when we actually concluded something, it felt like a lot happened, but effectively the only thing that happened was we solved the coup, right? But we didn't end it going, we solved the coup, now what? We ended it going, we solved the coup, but honestly it's not really that big of a deal compared to this other thing that's happening, and it was just purely natural transitioning to this other thing. It didn't feel forced in the slightest. Even Joshua doing its thing, because that was hinted at from the start. Trails just seems to be like, here's a bunch of breadcrumbs, and once you hit a point and you conclude something, your trail hasn't ended. You just keep going, right? Because they just have so much stuff that happens over such a long time that it just kind of builds up so they can just select which thing they want to do next, right?
Like
It's just like
overall,
a
in the
list of
grand
shit.
scheme of things, it works. It's just small scale.
Just instance per instance. Like this is a better movie than a game. In a lot of ways. Maybe
I don't know,
book
movie.
might
I
be
feel
better.
like you would need like. I feel like you would lose a lot if you went like plot by plot with Trails.
I feel like this could
it's a
make
very
good book.
worldly game.
Yeah, that's why I think book or book series, because this game, I'd love to meet the person who built up the story of this, because this is the kind of story that can only occur when one person has just this ridiculous vision that they think way too much about, and the rest just kind of support that person. Like this is the author is in control of everything. The game.
This is a person
Right?
who really likes world building.
Yeah, this is a person who just like they had a vision, and this is not a new vision. This is like the third or fourth attempt at attempting this thing over the course of their entire life. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've attempted to write several books or games on this before and failed, and this is the one. This is how they're gonna do it. Like, there's no way that this is like built by council whatsoever. There's not a bunch of people with their fingers in the pie here. So
I mean, it was
That's-
a very like low scale dev team, and like how game development was back in the day is very like, especially like with this team in Falcom, it's like they weren't like a AAA studio or even like AA. They just kind of like pumped out a lot of games until they got popular. Really,
And that's like honestly like the majority of companies become successful that way.
yeah.
It's just you make a product
Except-
and it does okay, and you use that to
except
make the
nowadays.
next product and it becomes even better. And yeah, nowadays it's just pump and dump because stock and tech.
Yeah, if you
You
don't
either crash
have it,
because you shot for investors and you didn't get any, or you succeed like wild because you shot for investors and way too many came. Like you live and die off of hype, which is dumb.
that's just how it is.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to this Bracers Guild podcast. This has been Chapter 1, Sneaking Shadows. Join us next time for Chapter 2, Raging Land.
Oh yeah, that is the name of that. Oh,
Yeah, it is.
goodbye.
Goodbye.
Suddenly.
And suddenly, the world ends. Ah!
Oh no, my vision. It's going darker, darker, ever darker.
Stay with me. Stay with me. Don't go towards the light.
Oh.
Brandon,